Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Hey everybody, how we doing? I lost my earpiece to start the show. Things are falling off the rails just as we go. Same as the Browns kicker situation. I don't need to hear anything right now. Let me tell you something. I want to talk about my trip to Pittsburgh. I want to talk about everything that happened this weekend.
You was in Pittsburgh.
I went to Pittsburgh. I almost punched a guy in the face. We'll get into all this later. Everything, there's crazy things going on all around the world. We don't have time to mess around, guys. Right. Earl is on the panel. G. Bush is here as always. Here we go. Cade York has to be cut. Forget everything else, Mike. I'm not saying hello to you or anybody. Cade York can't be trusted. Get his ass out of here, G. Bush. Right now, don't wait another second. He should have been cut already. Stop this crap. Get his ass out.
There's 97 different people on the waiver wire. There's free agents. Go find one. Just find one, Earl.
Hey, Cade Yank is no longer Cade York. It's Cade Yank. So somebody need to go yank his ass off the Browns roster, send him to the airport and get him up out of here, man. You know, Kevin Stefanski said he's talented. You can go be talented elsewhere, my guy.
Hey, man, you're going to get money, but you're not going to get no money here. I wish you best
no
of luck.
champagne, no rice. You eat nothing. You don't eat nothing.
I tell you what, man, you know, I think Kevin Stefanski is coming around a little bit. I think he's coming around to figure out that, look, I can't bring him back. It's going to cost me. It's costing me, you know, just he's losing accountability points, and they don't. If you do it too long, people won't trust you. But I think what he said after the game really pretty much shows that he's probably not going to be here very long.
No doubt about it, Mike. You look a little shell shocked right now because we jumped right into the Cade York thing.
I told you guys before the show that we could have done, and I'm not exaggerating. I called you yesterday to talk about the rundown. I called Jason. I talked to Earl and Anthony as always. We had enough content for maybe 3 shows just based off the stuff that happened yesterday without all the cuts that have gone through the wires, and tomorrow obviously being cut day where we'll have much more to talk about. Or behind the glass on Saturday about the Cade York debacle. Me and Earl decided to hop on just kind of instinctively. We had to talk about it.
Yeah.
Did 20,000 views, which for a behind the glass reaction thing.
That's awesome.
That's crazy.
And that's a testament, not to us, but to the Browns fans out there who were in the same mode as Earl and I were after that happened, in pure kind of panic. And we needed a little therapy session, so we appreciate you guys joining us for a little therapy. We're going to talk more Cade York, but you want to tease up what else we got going on today?
Well, we're going to do the 32 and 32. We got Nick Chubb. I got a story about my trip to Pittsburgh later. We're going to talk about Denzel Ward. A little more about that tomorrow, a little more in detail on Denzel Ward. We got the wide receiver room to discuss, and Aditi Kinkhabwala of CBS Sports and the Browns preseason games. She's going to be joining us at 12:15. So that's all coming up today, guys. But it all begins and ends with Cade York. Go ahead.
Before we get to Cade York, though, and I apologize for cutting you off again, but I got to get one of these bad boys in.
Get him in.
If you have not liked or subscribed to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, do me a favor. This is McNuggets asking you, not the person sitting next to you, not the person watching next door. I'm asking you specifically. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We are doing some incredible things for football season. We have some incredible news coming up for you guys on the horizon that I literally cannot wait to share with you. We're just crossing the T's, dotting the I's. This news is going to blow your socks off. I promise you it'll be worth it. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It is totally free. Yeah.
By the way, the tainted water saga continues, and thanks to my wife who reminded me to bring my water today. You see, my son got me this cup. It says best dad in the multiverse.
I like that. I like that.
Also, shout out. I got to do a shout out, quick shout out. I was at the supermarket this weekend, not my butcher though. There was a guy looking at me, older guy, probably in his 60s. He's looking at me, and he goes, "I love your show. The Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show is the best." And it was exciting in particular because, you know, we know that because it's YouTube, our audience trends a little younger. But this guy was an older dude. He was at least mid-50s and maybe into his 60s. And he was so excited. "I love all you guys. The show is awesome. It's fantastic." And I talked with him for a couple minutes, and then he saw me again later in the supermarket. He's like, I just got to tell you, blah, 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 blah. And he's going on and on and on. He was so excited. So, Bob, shout out to you. We appreciate that you watch every day. Says he watches the show every day.
Check this out. That we're batting 2 for 2 now.
Yeah.
I met an older gentleman Sunday, went to Men's Warehouse out in Mayfield, get fitted for my tux, as you all know. I got a wedding coming up. Groomsman and the officiate, so I'm looking forward to that.
How could you be a groomsman and the officiate? That doesn't make any sense.
We're going to see it in rehearsal how it's going to go.
Only in the hood.
But I go and I walk in to get fitted, and he looks at me. He said, "You know who you are?" He says, "You're Earl the Pearl." He says, "I love the work you all do on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Love the work that you do on the fans." So we got some fans out there who's starting to understand this YouTube thing and how to see us there. So shout out to everybody who's supporting everything that we do. We got a lot going on here.
Man, stop playing with me. You thought I didn't have no somebody knew me too. Stop playing. I'm jealous. I was somewhere and they knew me. I went to a wedding. Shout out to my Aunt Cynthia. She got married. Shout out to her, my Aunt Cynthia. And she married good dude Steve. And you can find love in later age. This is my dad's older sister.
Damn.
Okay.
So she out here
her.
moving around, moving and shaking. She was beautiful. They did their thing.
Was there good food at the wedding?
Come on, you see, it was a black wedding. Food was jumping like it is.
Did you see how he was taken aback? Like,
I never had those. And shout out to Marion Motley's grandson was there as well.
Really?
So I got to have time
cool.
to talk to him. He said, "Listen, man, I love you doing a lot of moving and shaking. I like that." So it was a great weekend.
I got to cut y'all off and we got to get the first topic, but this is a new record, and it's a kudos to the UCSS fan base. We're starting to meet people all over the city that watch the show. We're 6 minutes in, we got 1,000 viewers live right now.
Wow.
That is a record for the fastest.
We get to over 1,000, over 2,000, sometimes over 3,000 quickly, but we've never gotten to 1,000 in 6 minutes.
So we might want to shut up.
Let's
and
jump
get
right
to it.
into it.
Yeah, so let's get right into it.
Well, we already jumped into it. The biggest story right now is Cade York. Guys, this is the most important season of Browns football in forever. Would anybody disagree with that?
Nope.
Couldn't agree more.
You have the quarterback that you spent all this money and draft picks on. You put your whole franchise in his hands to some degree. And he, for the first time, will play a full season as a Cleveland Brown. Your coach is in year 4. He's gone backwards since year 1. Your GM's in year 4. He's the one who traded for Watson. He's the one that drafted Cade York. Everything's on the line for everybody. The talent is good or better in every spot except for probably linebacker, where they're adequate. This team has to win now. You absolutely cannot have your kicker cost you games. You know how much I hate the preseason, guys. This has been talked to death. But the only thing that one of the only things that matters in the preseason is the kicker. Because when Deshaun Watson plays, if he's playing against backups, it's not telling me much.
Yep.
If Dalvin Tomlinson plays against the backup offensive line, it's not telling me much. It doesn't matter who's playing against Cade York. It doesn't matter. If anything, it's easier because if you lose the game, it doesn't really matter in the preseason like it does in the regular season. And yet, he has been not bad. He's been a disaster in this preseason, guys. And Earl, he has to go.
Listen,
absolutely.
Man, one day I'm going to tell my grandkids that early on in my career, I spent the first month of August talking about a kicker. I'm talking about a kicker. Cade York is an absolute disaster, as you said. With this season having so much riding on it, right? I'm not going to bank the Brown season on Cade York's right leg. The fact that you got one job, forget everything else. You got one job to come out here and make kicks. And you have proven to show that you're not capable of doing it when the lights is on and in the big moments. I said right here on this set 2 episodes ago on Behind the Glass, and I laid out a scenario that we could be in the regular season and we talk all this noise about Deshaun Watson and, will he be able to lead the Browns on game-winning drives? Can he put us in position to win? You trot us down there for a game-tying touchdown, and all we need is the extra point, and he misses it. Or you get us down to a certain point of the field, and he can't even hit a damn 43-yard field goal.
Yeah.
We are not about to bank our entire 2023 season on Cade York's right leg. And the fact that they went this long without no kicking competition, without doing anything to put some heat up under his ass is total blasphemy to me. And I heard Kevin Stefanski's comments yesterday, and they were totally different from the comments a week ago.
That they were. We'll play them in a second.
Yeah, a week ago was Cade York is our guy.
Yeah.
This week is, you know what, you're talented. And what that read to me, yeah, you talented, but you gonna go be talented elsewhere. Because we got too much on our line, and I fail to believe that Kevin Stefanski is that stupid to put his job in faith of Cade York's right leg. I just don't see it.
Gee, before you go, we got the clip, right?
We do have the soundbite. Kevin Stefanski was asked on Sunday.
Yeah. And remember, Earl's right. Consistently, Kevin Stefanski every week has said, he's our guy. No competition. He's our guy. And then after yesterday's game, here's what he said.
And do you expect him to be the kicker week 1?
Yeah, I think all those type of things, Scott, as you know, we always keep those internal as we get through this week. But I'll reiterate, I think Cade is very, very talented.
All right, remember also, Cade York was a little short with the media after the game, too. G, what do you say?
We also have that clip if you want to hear that as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, you want to hear that first?
Cade York,
yeah,
so
go ahead.
Tee it up. Get this off.
This was from Darren Smith. He sent us this, and then we tweeted it out.
Man.
Steve, you can take it.
You talked a lot about the way you've kicked during practice, and we've seen it in practice. How frustrating is it that that's not carrying over? I mean, how much have you I know you have probably, but how much have you kind of tried to self-diagnose why that's not carrying over?
Like I said, it's been super frustrating, and I watch film and I work on in practice, and it looks great in practice. So it's been plenty of self-diagnosing. So
how much did you want that? Want that opportunity?
Come on, man, that's like 6 questions. Of course, I freaking wanted to put it through. That's not dude.
I mean,
so pressure bust pipes. He answered the questions in a way, shape, or form that he plays the game, which is emotional. You can't be emotional and be a kicker. Like, he should have just said in that clip, you know what, listen, it's not good enough. I've been missing kicks. I've been working hard in practice. Been trying to stick to what I'm trying to do in my mechanics. Been working with Coach Ventrone, but it's just not good enough. It's a make or miss league, and I'm missing right now, and I can't put my team in that situation. People will look at you a little bit different, but I think it goes to this. The Cleveland Browns have to understand that as an organization, it's not about for so long we've been building towards something and trying to find pieces of parts and trying to build a culture and ways of winning. But we got to understand that there's levels to it. And when you step up to the next level and you are a contender, when you have the quarterback, when you have all the other pieces of parts around you, you have to start operating like contenders. And look at what the San Francisco 49ers did. San Francisco spent 2 first-round picks to go get Trey Lance. One thing that I could commend the 49ers is saying this. Trey Lance didn't even really have an opportunity to play. He was injured the first year. He broke his ankle, messed up his finger the first year, and he was all out last year. Brock Purdy came in and played well. And you know what I give him? I give him credit for saying, you know what, we reached on the third overall pick, and we was wrong on that. Let's get him up out of here. We're going with Brock Purdy. We'll move him to Dallas. What that says is I'm not going to wait too long for Trey Lance to cause me to lose football games in order to validate that I made the right or wrong decision. You have all of the data in front of you with Cade York. You've had last year. You've had all the training camp. He had no pressure on him. They didn't bring nobody in to like push him or move him as a veteran. You see what it is now. He does not have it. The emotional and mental psyche of what it is, he don't have it. And for me, I can't look at Nick Chubb or Myles Garrett or Joe Bitonio and guys putting their body on the line. Hey, Marquise Goodwin is trying to come back for blood clots. And these guys are putting their careers, their bodies on the line, trying to win football games. And I'll be damned if I throw that and sacrifice all that because you spent a 4th round on a kicker.
I don't give a shit where you drafted him. Yeah. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Okay, Andrew Berry, you made a mistake. That's fine. We all screw up. The greatest GMs in the history of sports F up plenty of times. It's okay. What's worse is not admitting that mistake and moving on. There's a kicker out there. His name is Robbie Gould. He's extremely clutch. Do you know how many field goals Robbie Gould has missed in his career in the playoffs? You know how many?
I don't know.
Probably zero.
I'm gonna guess one.
Zero.
Zero.
Zero. You know how many extra points he's missed in the playoffs in his career? Zero.
Wow.
I think he's what is he? And he's been around forever. So he is 39 for 39 in extra points in the playoffs. He is 29 for 29 in field goals in the playoffs, including last year with the Niners, where he was 8 for 8 in the playoffs. Why is he still out there? I was reading this morning that he wants a lot of money for a kicker.
Who cares?
The Browns have the most cap space in the league. So I don't care if it costs $10,000. Pay this freaking guy. His career field goal percentage is about 87%. Last year he was 85%. Made all his 50-yard field goals. Made all his playoff field goals. Sign him now. What the hell are we? I don't cross out the rest of the list. There's only one guy. It's Robbie Gould. He's been an excellent kicker in his career. He is clutch. He's a veteran, but not too old. To me, it's a no-brainer. Absolute no-brainer.
He should be, from what you said, he should be on the phone with him today.
100%. They should have already signed him.
I mean, to your point,
yeah.
We talk about the Browns having all this cap space. We talk about 2023 being the most important season for this regime, right? If you got the cap space and you need a kicker, a guy that's clutch, who gives a damn what it costs?
I don't care.
You're trying to go win the Super Bowl now. But the one thing that really pissed me off about how Cade York handled himself, right? You got to understand something, Mr. York. You're a kicker. If you make your kicks, they're not even coming to talk to you anyway.
That's right.
That's something for you to think about. I jokingly said on Behind the Glass, man, do kickers even get a playbook?
Right.
It comes down to this. You got one job, right? We talk about all these pressure situations that he was in at LSU and kicking a game winner in the swamp down in Florida when the weather was crazy. All that's cool. But sometimes what you do in college, even for a kicker, don't translate to the NFL. And when you're in the NFL, what you do in practice, sometimes don't translate to the games. It's all about what you do when the lights come on and then what you do in clutch moments, right? We've seen this preseason alone, him go 3 for 3 and then get opportunities for a go-ahead field goal and miss one wide to the left, one wide to the right. I am so glad that scenario worked out the way it did against Kansas City because we all needed to see that. Yeah. We all needed to see what you was going to do when it was a pressure moment.
And he blew it again.
I don't give a damn about you being 36 for 36 in training camp and in practice. It doesn't matter. You're 50% in a preseason, and that is god-awful for a kicker. That is totally unacceptable.
And in terms of one quick point, Mike, because I want to follow up on something Earl said before you go. Earl's right. Like, there's been a lot of good college kickers that, for whatever reason, are not good in the pros. If you look at most of the kickers that have been drafted in recent years, outside of Evan McPherson of the Bengals, most of them have been flops.
Yeah.
That Rodrigo Blankenship, who's on that list, he stunk. That Zane Gonzalez got drafted. He's cut. What's his name? The other,
talking about the guy from Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay.
Took like in the first and
I think
second
he's out of the
round
league already.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, even Mike Nugent, who was ended up being around a long time, he wasn't worth where he was drafted. They blew it. It's fine. Move on. Let's go. Go ahead, Mike.
One point I want to make on the York thing. Kicking more than maybe any other position in football outside of quarterback is as close to a 50-50 mental, physical battle as anything else. It's you, the football, the upright, and the 70,000 people watching. His mental, Cade York's mental side of things, clearly broken.
Yeah.
On the physical side of things, with the extra point that he missed that then got negated, he shanked that. He kicked that. Joe Thomas called it a helicopter kick. I'm not a kicking expert. I know when someone who, like Joe Thomas, who knows football, calls it a helicopter, that's not good.
No.
On the field goal that got blocked, the potential game winner, that trajectory was like 7 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
The kicks itself, if it didn't get blocked, was not going anywhere near the uprights. So you could tell me, well, it was blocked, he slipped, whatever. I don't want to hear about the holder. I don't want to hear any excuses.
Oh, stop with the holder already.
We have gotten so soft, and I say we as people, not necessarily us, but just people in the Twitter sphere now. When I say we, it turns into a lot of just social media. Made so many excuses for Cade York, and I do feel kind of bad for the guy.
Why?
Because it's got to be tough. It's got to be tough to have everyone tear you down. Well, that's what comes with the position.
I don't feel bad for him.
I feel bad for Anthony Schwartz too. But real quick, you can't make excuses for these guys. And we have become so accustomed to excuses. He missed the kicks.
Yeah,
it got blocked. It was gonna go 10 feet right.
Stop blaming the punter. The punter's actually good at his job. He's actually a good punter. Go ahead, G. You were pissed off about that. Stop this feeling sorry stuff.
Because here's the thing about Twitter, man. There's a lot of, and I don't never want to say that. There's a lot of people that ain't never done nothing physical in their life. There's a lot of people who sat on the sidelines and just watched. They didn't do anything. The reason that is important is because you know why they run and condition you and wake you up at 5 in the morning? Because they get all of that up out of you. All that excuse stuff. When you running at 5 in the morning and you're throwing up in the trash can and then you got to lift and you got to do all these gymnastics and you're running them suicides or sprints or whatever the coach have you do, they make you do that because it get all of that extra softness out of your stomach and your chest being like, oh, it was this person's fault or this. No, listen, say it's somebody else's fault again. You're going to get back on the line. That's and right. Until you question whether or not you're going to die on the field or not, then you don't understand that we don't make excuses. It's not the holder. We've had Dave Zastadil come on here on Twitter, who played All-American for the OU Bobcats, played for the Browns, one of the best punters for the Ravens. Dave Zastadil came on here and said, listen, it's not the whole, I'm looking at it. Guess what? I did this for a living. And the problem with Twitter is people think that their opinion is the same as pros' opinions. Yours is not. You're entitled to it, but no one liked that comment. No one cares what you think. Can I go to NASA and be like, you know what? I know why Challenger blew up. I read the documentary, so I get to know.
Can I go to a doctor and say how a vaccine? Well, okay. Earl, go ahead.
But it's so funny because I don't know what McNuggets is talking about. I don't feel sorry for him. Somebody tweeted at me, and the first thing I said when I read it, you lucky you tweeted me and not Bull. The guy tweeted me and said that I was being too hard on Cade York. And if he misses a game-winning field goal versus Cincinnati in Week 1, okay, cool. That's when you move on.
He tweeted at me the same thing, Earl.
Yeah, and I sat there you're
absurd.
Are you serious right now? Some people make so many excuses for people. Listen, man, life happens and whatever. Second chances in life, I told you before. That's different. But this is a business. Yeah. This is pro sports. And for the love of God, you're a damn kicker. Get your stuff together.
That's it.
So for some of these fans, I feel like they've seen nothing but, average or above average from the Cleveland Browns. They're okay with just being okay.
What do you mean? They've seen mostly losing.
Well, mostly losing. But it's so many people that's just okay with being mediocre. It's so many people that's okay with just being okay. And it's like, how can you wrap your mind around that you got a talented team and how important this year is, and you mean to tell me that you're willing to see Cade York miss a game-winning field goal against a division rival before you're willing to move on, not realizing that 3-point loss against Cincinnati can make a huge difference if the Browns make the playoffs or win the division come Week 18? Yeah. It makes no sense at all.
No sense at all. A couple of things here. First of all,
only because Earl says about me, can I clarify something real quick?
Go ahead.
I don't feel bad for Cade York, the player. He's brought this on himself. I feel bad for any person who becomes the center of an entire tirade like that. So Cade York, the person, I do for the player.
Okay.
Yeah, he's brought this completely on himself.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about Cade York. I don't care. I have no sympathy for him whatsoever, okay? If I was as bad at my job as he was, I wouldn't be here for doing this for 20-something years, okay? So suck it up, pal. Don't get all annoyed. It's a loser excuses are for losers, G. You know that. That's what you just said. That's what you said. I'm going to say it in a meaner way. Excuses are for losers. And that's what we've been doing in this town, and that's to Earl's point. He's like, we're used to mediocrity. We're so used to shit football in this town that mediocrity looks good. Yep. That's why, I know some people are going to roll their eyes here, but that's why so many people were scared to move on from Baker. Mm-hmm. Because for 20 years, every quarterback here was horrible. And when you got mediocrity, or even, and to be fair to Baker, for 1 year, you got better than mediocrity. You got pretty good. That everyone's like, I don't want to mess with that. It's just like in this town, we see this all the time at the trade deadline for all our teams. Like, don't mess with, if they're playing well, don't mess with the team. Don't mess with the team. No, good teams go for it. Good teams, when they're in, they push further in, and further in, and further in. Pause. Can you pause yourself?
Thank you, yes.
Can you pause yourself?
Yes, okay. Good job out of you.
So, that's the thing. You can't wait, as this guy said to Earl, till they blow a game.
So they lose games?
Because I was thinking, if Cade York played any other position, I could leave him on the bench.
Yeah.
Right? I got 5 linebackers. I got 6 defensive ends. I got whatever.
Can you squad a kicker?
Yes.
I could leave him on the bench if he played another position.
By the way,
I can't do it. I can't let him cost me a game.
By the way,
not one.
Daryl Ryder said this. Yeah. He said this. So they're like, what do you do? Daryl said, well, look, they may not cut him to the very last part of the cuts, right? So that gives them an opportunity to say, okay, well, no one's going to pick him up because he's been playing horrible off the waiver wire. So we're going to be able to claim him and put him back on the practice squad.
I think that's fine, but I don't think they have to wait. Who would pick him up right now?
Yeah, they don't.
Nobody.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is maybe like a really bad team that sees potential in him that they don't care about winning. Maybe that would happen. But like if it happens, it happens. Who cares?
Think about who's the running back that fumbled the ball twice?
Steven, you talking about Jordan Wilkins?
Jordan Wilkins.
He's done.
He's out. See ya.
Yeah. Did you see when Deshaun Watson did this?
Yeah, that's see ya.
That was
your job.
When the quarterback's hand goes up like this.
Yeah, that's Jordan Wilkins' career. I hate to be harsh, but his career just went up in smoke.
And they took him right out that game.
Yeah.
Now, why is that being too harsh? Now he had 2 fumbles.
Yeah.
That was 2 plays that cost him his job.
Yeah.
I didn't see 10, 15 missed kicks for Cade York.
It's enough. It's enough. We've seen enough. And you know what? Yeah, is it possible he ends up going somewhere else and being good?
Sure.
Of course it's possible. You can't make decisions based on what might happen. Right now, Browns need to win. They cannot, going back to the Cincinnati example, let's say it's 24-23 Bengals with 3 seconds left in the game and Cade York steps out there to kick. Is there anybody that believes that is confident that he will make that kick?
No.
I got zero confidence.
And there's no way they can believe that.
And if he misses, this is how warped your mind is.
Yeah.
Once he misses that kick, people will then come around and say,
right.
Oh, it's now time for him to go.
Yeah.
But for the other 52 guys in the locker room, they are looking at Kevin Stefanski as a leadership. And your credibility is on the line.
Yes.
If you put one guy who is a kicker above 52 other guys, then we have to think about getting rid of you. Because you had an opportunity. You had an opportunity to do something about it.
He didn't say it, but he definitely backed off his comments from a week ago.
He did.
When they asked him, is Cade York your kicker week 1? He said those things stay internal. He said, but I think Cade York is talented.
I think he's gone.
I
I don't think there's any way. I hope I'm right. I know we all hope I'm right. We're all right. I don't think he would have not answered that question if Cade York was going to be
Kevin
the kicker.
Stefanski, and to his credit, gives the media nothing. Zach Jackson put it perfectly on Twitter. Kevin Stefanski refuses to acknowledge that it's 11:40 on a Wednesday when it's 11:40 on Wednesday and he's answering his press conference questions. The fact that he even said something, it was a non-answer, but he said something about Cade York, should have told you everything you needed to know.
They're just figuring out who they're going to bring in. But to me, it's a no-brainer. I don't know why you'd want anybody but Robbie Gould.
The thing with Robbie Gould, and I don't know if you saw this, both of San Francisco's kickers got injured in the last preseason.
Well, that's why you got to offer him a lot of money.
I know.
I was reading that Robbie Gould is not with somebody because the guy made 8 for 8 in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, he did.
I know he's older, but it's not like he's 42. I think he's 38. So, the reason he's not on a team, I was reading, and I can't remember where I read it, but it was that he wants more money. He's worth it. Go sign him.
Bull, sometimes when you're in the grocery store, you got items that's worth the money. Don't go in there skimping on meat. Pause.
That's right.
Don't go in there getting shavings. You getting that little skirt steak and then wonder why it's hard as a hockey puck. Stop skimping. Go get you something.
Get what you pay for.
I believe he's the guy, and this just dawned on me. There was a couple seasons he kicked in Chicago.
Yes.
So you've kicked in the Midwest. You've kicked that's the windy city.
Well, and even San Francisco is windy. I know it's West Coast, but it's windy.
It's like, okay, you've kicked in the Midwest. You've kicked in Chicago.
Yeah.
You've kicked in San Francisco where it gets windy. So this is a dude who has proven over the course of his career that the elements don't mean anything. And I'm pretty sure, I would love to know the numbers, but I'm pretty sure he's kicked in Cleveland Brown Stadium before.
Probably.
And I would love to see what his numbers is inside of Cleveland Brown Stadium.
But Earl, remember we was doing a barbershop.
I'm on it, Earl. Hold on.
Remember we was doing a barbershop on Saturday. Earl was producing on the barbershop, and we were on the radio. And a guy called in and he said, G. Bush.
Yeah, he did.
Let me ask you a question. Why is that kicker even in Berea, in the Dome? Why aren't they practicing at First Energy or Cleveland Brown Stadium? And it hit me, I said, that's a great question. If you are kicking outside, if you are kicking and you need to get to know the lay of the land, and Phil Dawson's talked about reading the flagpoles and all this stuff, why are you even showing up at practice in Berea? You should be at Brown Stadium doing what you need to do, kicking permanently. We don't even need to see you.
Boy, got the numbers?
Oddly enough, Robbie Gould's worst field goal percentage is versus the Browns. Now, I don't know if it's home or road. It doesn't break it up that way. But he's 6 of 10 kicking field goals against the Browns. But I don't know if those are in
Cleveland or not.
That's 60%. It's the only team he is at 60%. And he's made 16 of 17 extra points against the Browns, oddly enough.
Let me ask you all this.
Yeah.
How much of this is an indictment on Bubba Ventrone? Because we raved about
none for me.
But it might not be. But I'm just throwing this out there because it's just a thought. You know, we've raved about Bubba Ventrone taking over as special teams coordinator. And safe to say, again, preseason can't take too much from it. But of all the units, the special teams unit collectively has been the worst. And I'm wondering, like, how much one-on-one did him and Cade York have about his mechanics? And it could be sometimes, man, you could coach a guy up, you could give a guy all the tools. Sometimes they just can't fix the car. That's just
I don't think it's Bubba Ventrone at all. The guy's just not making kicks. You can't. Like, he's not a kicker. Bubba Ventrone's not a kicker.
So what can you tell him about it?
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, it's just a thought as the head guy on special teams.
Yeah.
How much time have you personally spent with Cade York?
I blame the special teams coach for the return guys, for the coverage, for onside kicks that fail, stuff like that. I'm not blaming him for the kicker sucking.
Bull, we go back to that documentary. We watch the quarterback's documentary on Netflix. But if you haven't seen it, just go watch it. And one of the things I'm going to pick out there is when Patrick Mahomes is at the facility, he's doing everything that other quarterbacks do. After he leaves there, he's going to do high-intensity workouts to train special parts of his game. You think Patrick Mahomes throws sidearm just because he can? No, he works on that. His flexibility. He's doing all of this fast, full speed with his independent contracted coach. So my thing is, why aren't the kickers with independent coaches all year? Why haven't these teams, the only full-time kicking coordinator or kicking coach that they have, ironically, is for the best kicker with the Ravens? Why do you?
I don't get that.
Why don't you have gurus, science? If you're talking about the ball is coming off his foot, looking like a helicopter, that's all about physics. That's trajectory. That's how hard you kick it. That's velocity. Those are all different things that you can get science-type guys to come in and work with them all year.
Yeah, I don't understand why teams don't, besides the Ravens, as you say, don't have a specific kicking coach. The special teams coaches are never kickers.
No.
Never, that I can ever remember. So what can Bubba Ventrone teach Cade York about kicking? I mean, that's not.
It's like getting mad.
It's probably nothing. Again, it was just a thought. It's not even something that I believe. It was just a thought.
No, I get it. But to his point, I'm saying, why don't you hire a kicking coach specifically?
And to your point, teams in the NFL mimic everything that everybody else do. You mimic RPOs. You mimic all these different defensive fronts. You mimic everything else. And if I'm every team in the NFL and I look at Justin Tucker and I look at the Baltimore Ravens, knowing that this man has a kicking coordinator or a kicking coach and he's the best kicker in the NFL, if I'm every other team, okay, let me copy and paste this just like I copy and paste everything else.
I don't know if they get it. Maybe because everything the kicker does is proprietary knowledge. Like Phil Dawson and all these guys, this is just trial and error. They learn it, they do it. But I really feel like there should be some repetition and some stuff that you can look at that basically helps you get better. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. But the best point of this, as we wrap it up, is Robbie Gould should be the guy in camp.
No doubt.
On the phone right now.
No, and you're right. The Niners are probably calling him too. So the Browns can't mess around. If I'm the Browns, I'm saying to Robbie Gould, what's it going to take to get you here? You want $10 million? Welcome aboard. Mikey.
Two things in a super chat. Earl, I did mention on Behind the Glass that there were some other special teams issues that I did think you could look at Ventrone with, but as far as the actual kick itself, that'd be like us getting mad at AVP because Deshaun Watson overthrows a deep ball or something.
Right.
He helps, but that's not necessarily on him. I got two super chats to read here real quick. And whenever we read you guys super chats, it's brought to us by our dear friends at PCC Airfoils. If you're looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits, well, PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. We have damn near 2,000 people live watching right now. That is phenomenal.
Salute to y'all.
And we have two super chats on Cade York that show the yin and the yang of how Browns fans feel about number 3. First comes from Professor Chaos. I'm sorry, guys. I would still ride with Cade York. And then Kenny Moss says, York was so bad that KC was rubbing it in our faces by having their safety kick it in.
Oh, wow. That's facts. I remember that.
Yeah.
See, I don't do well with that. I would have went in and tore up the locker room. That kind of stuff like that, because I would be so mad as a player.
I guess I want to know why the guy would like to keep Cade York, but that's the type of stuff that we're talking about here, right? Like, what reason would you want to keep him? Because he was a 4th round pick, because he's young, because he has all this potential. I mean, potential is a bunch of stuff that you haven't done yet. This team is ready made to try to go win the Super Bowl right now, and you want to hold on to a kicker for what reason? What reason?
It's hard to believe we're here after he made that game-winning 58-yard field goal the first week against Carolina last year. But it's been
less
mostly
than
downhill
365 days.
Missed 8 of his last 24 field goals last year. Has been a disaster in the preseason. You can't wait on him. It's time to move on, guys. Deshaun Watson threw 10 passes in the final preseason game of the year. Mm-hmm. He was 5 of 10. He had, I think, 92 yards, I believe, and a touchdown. What did you guys think of his performance, G. Bush?
I thought there was some, I thought that this is the closest we've seen to what Deshaun Watson can offer. It was glimpses of it, and I think it was much more comfortable than what we saw. The 2 fumbles, I don't put that on him. Now those are just running back errors, whatever the case may be. There was a throw that I thought Elijah Moore ran an out route that he kind of skipped it to him. He kind of missed that route.
That was a bad throw.
That was a bad throw. Yeah. But I also think that you saw the money show, the money shots. When you talking about that seam route to DPJ, that's an elite quarterback throw. Right off the bat, crazy. The touch he threw on the corner route with Njoku, beautiful. Put a touch on it, dropped it in the bucket. They work on that, throwing the ball in the bucket from the corner in practice from OTAs. I thought that was beautiful. Then you got to see his mobility. You got to see him move out. Now, basically, he had to move out the way because Jedrick Wills got destroyed again.
By a second team
DN, getting pushed all in the backfield. Yeah. But Deshaun Watson, he scrambles, escapes, finds Amari Cooper down the sideline, 50-something yards. And I just think those are the plays, the mobility, the arm strength, some of the impromptu stuff. I really, really thought he played his best game in the offseason. He had a couple bad throws here or there, but I was encouraged by what I saw.
Yeah, same here. I thought Deshaun Watson played well. Not great, but he played well. To your point, a couple throws, both of the throws that I thought was pretty poor throws, both went to Elijah Moore. It seemed like they was just downward in trajectory. Mm-hmm. It's kind of skipped the ground or whatever. But I saw a lot of good things. I seen the timing. I seen the chemistry that I was looking for. That seam route that he hit DPJ on, I mean, that was a perfect timing pattern right there. You talk about the touchdown to David Njoku. You could tell the chemistry between him and Njoku has grown. They talked about on the broadcast about Njoku liking the ball in certain areas to where he can only go get it. So you can see that chemistry and development there. I thought you seen that athleticism and the playmaking ability when the pocket broke down and he was able to roll out and hit Amari Cooper on the fly. Again, the word chemistry. You seen Amari Cooper stop on the route, realize what was going on, and then kind of make his way downfield. It makes me feel very comfortable about this offense heading into week 1 against the Cincinnati Bengals. Like yourself, I know some people want to put those 2 fumbles on Deshaun Watson. I can't. The reason being, I've seen that play run with every other running back in the backfield, and the handoff to running back exchange was smooth. Yeah. So, Wilkins was there for a cup of coffee, and clearly it didn't work. But overall, I thought Deshaun Watson played pretty well, and I think that by seeing how he played in those 3 series, he led 2 touchdown drives. Of course, they had the turnover. I'm comfortable with what I've seen heading into week 1.
I thought, I'm in agreement. I thought he played pretty well. He certainly wasn't great. There were some bad throws. It's hard to judge. Deshaun Watson's thrown 13 passes in the preseason.
Right.
It's not enough of a sample size. A QBR is stupid when it's that few passes. Doesn't make any sense. Like you guys have both mentioned, I thought the Donovan Peoples-Jones throw was actually his best throw. Mikey lost his mind on Twitter, saying the David Njoku throw was the greatest throw in the history of football. I don't know. That was like
I did not say it was the greatest throw in the history of football, but it was a perfectly thrown touchdown.
It was a great throw. You guys didn't mention the throw to Amari Cooper for the long completion, which I thought was a nice throw as well.
Yeah, the one where he scrambled out.
Yeah. He just talked about Jed Wills getting burned.
I just thought Jed Wills.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm like, man, this guy.
Yeah.
I looked at that, and again, because I keep using the word chemistry, right? Because to me, with the offense being so new and so different and him having the keys to the offense, I really wanted to see what the chemistry looked like between him and his guys.
Yeah.
And when Jed Wills got beat and that play broke down, you could see Amari Cooper adjust his route.
Right.
And so it's like they were on the same page. Okay, this is what we're going to do if this situation happens. And so just seeing that chemistry with him and his guys, I'm looking forward to it. You could tell Elijah Moore is a guy that he likes to target. I don't know if it's because Elijah Moore is short, but it seems like a lot of his passes is kind of heading in a downward direction.
And let me tell you this. I don't want to jump the gun here, but when Deshaun Watson, I think he was talking to Mary Kay Cabby, he said it's going to be explosive.
He said fireworks.
He said fireworks.
So week one's going to be fireworks.
And you know why I feel like he said that? It wasn't necessarily what other people did. You notice everybody got a little touch. DPJ. Like that. Mari Cooper running the scramble drill, quarterback scrambling. Look at the quarterback, get eye contact, move downfield. He hit him on that one. But the biggest news was he's going to get Marquise Goodwin back. See,
we're going to get there, G.
Look. I ain't going to give you too much, but now, that was he feeling good about that.
To be fair, I don't think we know enough about the chemistry yet. Again, he's only thrown 13 passes in the preseason. He's had now a full off season with some of these guys. Elijah Moore's new. Some teams, he's not going to have the same chemistry with these guys that Joe Burrow has with his guys because they've played a lot longer together. But I think there were signs, I agree with you, that there is some developing chemistry. There'll be moments where it'll be off because they still haven't played a lot together long enough. Deshaun Watson has still played very little football for the Browns when it's all said and done, and Elijah Moore is new. But there was a lot of good things to take out of what he did in this game. By the way, speaking of quarterbacks, who the hell is Steve Bouchel, who started for the Kansas City Chiefs?
Played at SMU.
No idea who
Texas
that guy is.
legend.
He looked horrendous.
But
that guy.
didn't Bouchel go to Texas first? And then transfer to SMU?
And then he went to SMU.
And then who knew Blaine Gabbert was still in the league?
I didn't either.
I did because they signed him to replace Chad Henne. They just replaced the old dinosaur backup quarterback with a new old dinosaur.
Why didn't they start? If Gabbert's going to be the backup, why didn't he start the game instead of Bouchel?
Andy, I thought Patrick Mahomes was going to play. When did they say he wasn't playing? I thought this whole week we were leading up to.
I didn't see it until right before the game.
I thought he was playing as well.
That just goes. I know why he ain't playing. They didn't want to get a Browns. They scared. They don't have nothing for the Browns.
Go ahead and say it. You was about to say something.
They don't. They were scared of that pass rush. They don't want no parts of that because it was teased that Myles Garrett was going to play, right?
No. He's the only one that they said was not him and Chubb.
Hey, they don't want no part. Did you see what Zadarius Smith did to their tackle?
That was embarrassing.
Beat him up on that play.
Hey, one thing on Deshaun Watson. I'm not sure if you guys picked up on this, but to me, the two things that stood out to me most about Deshaun Watson's performance, and I'm with you guys, I thought it was pretty solid overall. One, how frustrated he got with Wilkins on those botched handoffs. Yeah. Like, he was legitimately pissed off at Wilkins, and I love to see my quarterback, who's had very limited time in the preseason, be so adamant about staying on the field and be legitimately pissed off that someone else ruined his playing time. It's a minute thing.
The quarterback's got to get on players when they screw up. That's part of being a quarterback.
I love to see that. I love to see that. Second from Watson, we just haven't seen him throw a lot, especially in the preseason. The fact that we saw the full arsenal of arm difference between him and some other guys, I thought was pretty evident. The bullet to DPJ on that skinny post was an absolute piss missile. The lob to Njoku in the back of the end zone.
Ever.
We're going to just skip past
Y'all never heard of a piss missile?
Nah.
Keep going, Mikey. Keep going, man.
We're going to skip bull. I've never heard that.
Laser beam dart? Whatever. Is it piss missile?
I might have to go with that one. That's
I mean, it was slick.
Well, so we're going to have to make a UCSS calendar of words that we've invented and slapdicks on it.
Yeah.
Piss missile. We'll just keep adding it. But it was a piss missile.
Yeah.
Phenomenal throw. The lob float pass to Njoku in the end zone, there's really only one place you can put that without the safety undercutting it. Maybe not the greatest throw of all time. You're right, Bull. It's a damn good throw. And then the arm talent to escape, running left, throwing across his body to hit Cooper after, as G so eloquently put it, Jed Wills got broken into. I know he was wide open, but that's a crossbody throw 30 yards downfield. We saw the full arsenal of what is in Deshaun Watson's right arm.
Most importantly, starting tomorrow, we no longer have to talk about preseason football.
Facts.
Yeah.
And now we can actually talk about how he performs in games that matter, in games that really count, against starters and guys that are doing everything to win. That I can't wait for. Cut down day is tomorrow. Got to be down to 53 tomorrow. And full speed ahead. What did you think of the other quarterbacks yesterday? They all had basically the same numbers.
It was pretty impressive.
I thought DTR, he had a really nice rope to Cedric Tillman. He threw that throw was and he got hit up underneath the chin and everything. Threw it in anticipation, looked off the backside. I was like, yo, backside dig, that was nice. Now, here's the thing also, too. I did see that DTR kind of looked like a rookie just because he held on the ball a little bit longer, right? Yeah. You didn't see the same kind of 1, 2, 3 ball out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ball out. Or if it's not there, take off and scramble. You really didn't get a chance to see that. But I like what Coach Stefanski did. I would have liked to see him a couple more series, but then I forgot. He's the number 2 quarterback. So they ain't going to get him smashed. So I was like, dang, man, with DTR coming out. I'm like, man, why, bro? You got to give him some looks. And then was like, oh. I forgot he's number 2.
Yeah, I mean, DTR capped off what has been an amazing offseason for himself, right? I mean, he's one of the highest-rated quarterbacks in the preseason. He didn't turn the ball over not one time. He was able to grow each week. And then even like with the Kansas City Chiefs game not being comparable to his performances in the other games, you got to understand you're going against the Super Bowl champions to where the level of competition is different, the level of coaching is different. And for him to still go out there and have some success.
But it was backups.
It was backups.
Well, it was probably third stringers by then.
It was backups, but, you know, when you're being coached by Andy Reid, it hit a little different from when you're going against.
And you Arrowhead.
It just, the whole thing hits a little different. So I thought he played well. I thought Kellen Mond played well. The Browns have a pretty solid quarterback room. I think DTR will have a fun experience sitting behind Deshaun Watson this season.
Please.
And learning the ropes.
Don't have him play a single snap this year.
Yeah, if it's
like I said, except for games, maybe let's see him play Game 17 when they're locked into their playoff spot. That's what I want to see.
Actually, you start to see as demonstrative as Deshaun Watson was when the running back dropped the football twice.
Yeah,
that shows me that like he's starting to feel he's in that quarterback. Like Joe Burrow don't come out of games, and it don't matter if you were Patrick Mahomes when he was hurt. He said, no, I'm not coming out the game.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson is not coming. He's not Jacoby Brissett. He's not. This year, he'll tell,
no,
we're not going to do that.
You can definitely tell that this is his team.
Yeah.
That's the biggest difference, I think, for me from last year to this year. Just from everything that we know transpired in the offseason, when you see his body language on the football field, when you see him interacting with his teammates, you know, you see a guy who, okay, this is my team. I'm in control. I'm a leader. You know, I'm the captain because I'm pretty sure he will be wearing a C on his jersey this year. Yeah. It's a night and day difference from last year to this year. And you see him taking total command. And I think that, you know, energy transfers. And if that's the type of energy that you're giving off, then damn it should be a fun season in Cleveland for the Browns.
I'm not ready to go as far as you, Earl, about his leadership and command of the offense yet. I think it's trending that way. I'm not as quite ready to say it's 100% there. I did think it was a good sign when he did, you know, the arrow.
Yes.
Because I think we didn't. I feel like we didn't. Maybe we did see it. And I
probably
just
seen
don't
it.
remember.
We didn't see it at all last year.
We needed that. That's cocky Deshaun. We need cocky Deshaun because cocky Deshaun is a great player.
Yeah.
Timid Deshaun is just a guy. I need cocky Deshaun.
Cocky Deshaun. Remember his first playoff game against the Buffalo Bills? He gets hit from 2 defenders coming in opposite directions, spins out, throws the touchdown pass, immediately flexes the muscles. That's the Deshaun Watson we want to see here in Cleveland.
He's getting there.
That's the guy we want to see here.
Mikey McNuggets.
I got 2 things to mention. Aditi may join us early, so bear with me for one sec. But if you wanted the Deshaun Watson jersey, a Nick Chubb jersey, any other Brown swag, anything you want to rock your favorite team's apparel this fall, you better head over to fanatics.com/UCSS to get your gear. We get a little kickback if you use that link, so help out your favorite Cleveland sports show, a.k.a. us, while we help you get swagged out for the upcoming football season. I have 2 things to mention before we get to our next topic. Shout out to DP Dog 21 Phil Bowman, had 2 extra super chats, but Phil Bowman gifted 5 memberships today. So
nice, Phil,
we appreciate that. We have 2 super chats real quick. Guys, you know, confidence goes a long way, and I love seeing the bow and arrow celebration from Watson. I think that's huge for him, as we just alluded to. And then Kevin Robinson wants to know, and Bull, you can answer this real quick before I set you up for the next one. Has Bitonio being out affected Jed Will's preseason play at all, or are those 2 not correlated?
I think it's possible. I mean, listen, G in particular has been very hard on Jedrick Wills. I don't love him either, but I'm probably not as down on him as you are, but I'm not high on him. But I think Bitonio not playing certainly helped. We talked about how important Bitonio is. Yeah. He's the rock. Yeah, I'm sure for Jedrick Wills having, what's his name? Who's been playing left guard? Dunn?
Yeah.
Dunn.
It's a pretty big drop-off from Bitonio to Dunn.
Huge.
So I would say it probably factors in for his struggles.
Yeah, that's a little bit. When you got a strong guy with guard, there's a lot of times you could pass people off, especially if they're running any games, twist or text.
Yeah.
He could give him a third eye, kind of give him a punch. Because usually Bitonio can handle a guy inside of him, so he could punch and give him a little help to the inside, and Jed could worry about getting his kick slide and running people past Deshaun. Where we can't help Jedrick Wills is if he doesn't anchor and get his head out of blocks. There's a lot of times he misses because he leans over and puts his head in the block, and guys are just bull rushing him.
Yeah.
So he got bull rushed into Deshaun Watson. I think it's just more along the era of technique with him. When his technique gets bad, he gets really bad.
Yeah.
When his technique and his footwork are clean, he's a solid player, but his technique is inconsistent. Yeah.
Mike, are we going to have Aditi? Because if we're going to have her in a couple minutes, maybe I'll tell my Pittsburgh story now. We'll save wide receivers to after.
Well, I was going to say, we got a whole wide receiver topic. Do we want to talk about Anthony Schwartz real quick in its own little segment before we get to Aditi? Because I feel like you should tell your Pittsburgh story with Aditi, being that she's married to a Pittsburgh guy.
With Aditi? Okay.
So let's save that.
All right, so let's talk about Anthony Schwartz. We'll get to the rest of the wide receiver room later. It's finally happened, guys. Something we've all been expecting this entire training camp is now official. The Browns have cut Anthony Schwartz. This was a no-brainer. There was really no argument to keep him on the team. And we've talked about Andrew Berry being hesitant to cut his draft picks. He finally did one for the first time last year. Anthony Schwartz has been one of his worst picks. I mean, there's no signs of any ability to play. Maybe he'll go somewhere else and do something, but I doubt it, Earl. I mean, I think Anthony Schwartz is not an NFL player.
Like you said, no-brainer, not surprised here, nothing to see here. Third-round pick, a lot of speed, never lived up to the potential. I think he got, less than 15 career receptions, 186 career yards. The one touchdown that you see on the screen, that was a rushing touchdown. It wasn't even a receiving touchdown. So, you look at this, I give Andrew Berry credit for moving on and cutting the guy that he drafted, but I also give the Cleveland Browns credit as well for giving Schwartz every opportunity to succeed, giving him every opportunity to show what he had. You look at last preseason, you look at this preseason, early on it seemed like a lot of plays were scripted to get him the ball. A lot of plays were scripted to give him the opportunities to build that self-confidence and to have success. And he just couldn't do it, and it's okay. You went out there, you gave it your best shot, you tried. He even tweeted out, hey, thanks for the opportunity. Me personally, I don't think he's an NFL football player either. But if I wanted to look at a situation, glass half full, it's about not necessarily being knocked down, but how can you respond to being knocked down? And for some guys, they need to get cut. They need situations like this to happen to them in order to bring out the best in him. So I don't know what his future. I don't know what his future holds. I'm just glad that the Cleveland Browns moved on.
I don't think Anthony Schwartz failed because he wasn't necessarily a hard worker. I just don't think he's a football player. He's an athlete, but he's not a football player.
Yeah, he talked about, and a lot of it is, he talked about his mental health a little bit. This is an article in Cleveland.com. He talked about why did he start coming out talking about his mental health. And he said, just to show us a real thing, like it's not a made-up story that people try to call it. It's a thing because if you're depressed, if you're anxious, that can really affect you, not only in the field but in life. And that's just the thing I want to show us athletes go through too. And if you're an athlete, you're not alone in this. Everyone goes through something. Don't be scared to speak out. He's talking about, he was at one point in August, he was in the locker room and he had almost a panic attack, and his teammates had to help him out because, just all of the stuff that was on social media or Twitter, he said that just started to compound and it really affected his play on the field. One of the things that, and I, like you said, when you talk about Anthony Schwartz, sometimes you start late in life. I started playing football later when I was 14. So sometimes you don't have the fundamentals that everybody else has. So when you look at Anthony Schwartz, sometimes you could be given an opportunity and you may not be ready for the opportunity. I don't think Anthony Schwartz was ready to become a third-round pick. But when you are a third-round pick, all those expectations come with it. So for me, Earl, I think he wasn't prepared to be a receiver. And when you're not prepared, you're not a natural receiver, not a natural catcher of the ball, you split time between track and football, what's going to happen is you could be put on that stage and not be ready. If I would have been in this role right here without any really formal training, being on UCSS, if they'd have gave me this opportunity 5 years ago, I could have got up here and bombed. But 5 years later, I was more seasoned. I was ready for the opportunity. And sometimes it's about being ready for the opportunity and having that skill set that you can lean on. For him, unfortunately, I don't think he had the skill set to lean on. He didn't really have in his mind he was going to do that as a football player. So for him, he could still get there. He could get coaches. He got the opportunity. His feet is wet. Now go back and do the work. Get a trainer. Get a receivers coach. Work on your routes. Work on all of those things because the speed is there. Now work on becoming a receiver that is fast, not just a fast guy trying to be a receiver.
We got to go to Aditi now. Let's bring in Aditi.
Before we bring in Aditi,
yes,
I got to do one more fast read. We did Behind the Glass this weekend, Earl and myself. Like we said, it was a record-breaking edition. A lot of it was a bit of a therapy session after the Cade York missed field goal. We are doing a Behind the Glass tomorrow at 4 p.m. Right as the final cuts are made, we'll be reacting to whatever moves the Browns make, and hopefully we'll get some breaking news within that hour to see who the Browns bring in. So Behind the Glass, myself, Anthony, and Earl, tomorrow at 4 o'clock. We'll see you then. And with that, we do not have to wait for Aditi Kinkhabwala until 12:15 because we have the GOAT sideline reporter joining us right now live. What's up, Aditi?
How are you guys? That's hard when I come in that way, when I'm sitting here saying, hey, I need to get this in before my very, very late workout. I've been, and that's my daughter turning on a light that we don't need on, but thank you very much. I've been purging my basement of toys.
Really?
And the light's back on. She wants you to be in the spotlight there, Aditi.
You know what? She's from Cleveland, which just means she's a pain in the you-know-what.
Well,
actually, I don't know if she's from Cleveland. If you're born in a city, you're not really from it. You're just a native of it, though, right?
Don't blame Cleveland for her turning on the light.
You have to at least pay taxes in one cycle before you can say you're from somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. By the way,
she's a native, though. She was born there.
Right. There you go.
By the way, I spent 6 hours in Pittsburgh this weekend. I got to complain about some Yinzers in a little bit. But before we get to that, let's get to this football game. We spent the first 30 minutes of the show, all of us in full agreement, which doesn't happen all that often, Aditi, but we were in full agreement that the Browns have to move on from Cade York. Absolutely have to move on. He can't be trusted. You cannot bring him into the regular season. Kevin Stefanski, who had been defending him the entire preseason, saying he's the starter, he's the starter, he's the starter. When he was asked about it yesterday, of course, said, well, we think he's very talented. To me, we all think that means they're moving on. Do you think they're moving on from Cade York?
My gut says that they're not. I think that they really, truly believe in how talented he is.
Oh, my God.
He hasn't just suddenly forgotten how to kick the ball. This is just one of those things that I think you've also heard Kevin say he needs to work through. And we've seen this happen. Look, you just mentioned Pittsburgh. We saw it happen with Chris Boswell a few years ago. I know. Gee, I'm sorry. I know this is not.
Wait a second.
But what if the guy's going to turn into one of the greatest kickers ever, and you've given
up
on him
He's not.
before you've even given him a chance?
Wait a second. Hold on one second. Because I keep hearing the same argument, and I'm sick of it. You mentioned Chris Boswell. I've heard people say the same thing. Well, Justin Tucker had one down year, but Justin Tucker and Boswell had already had great seasons. Cade York was lousy last year.
You know what could happen here? This is just, I'm throwing baseless speculation out there, okay? So just baseless speculation. Take it for what it's worth. He did get hurt a little bit. So what if on Saturday, what if he needs to start the season on PUP or on IR or something like that, and they bring in another kicker? And they
kids are running behind you.
I loved him.
It's awesome.
I loved him. Oh my gosh, I love him.
Okay. Stop. Guys, this is live television, and you are old enough to know better.
You're saying you think they could put him on like season-long IR?
Victor Cruz. Years and years ago, I was a Giants beat reporter, and Victor Cruz showed these amazing signs in the preseason. But the Giants didn't necessarily really have a spot at wide receiver, and he wasn't quite ready. Although he showed unbelievable potential and talent and promise. And he ended up spending the season on IR and seasoning. And then we all know what happened after that. And I'm not saying it was a fake injury. I'm not saying that he wasn't actually injured. But certain things like that have been known to happen.
I like that. I like that little thing. I like that.
Keeping him
that
on.
whole.
But again, I have no inside information here.
He can't be the kicker, though.
Suggesting that any NFL team skirts the rules in some ways. I have children that are not. What do you not understand about this, Nico?
We shouldn't be
Nico
laughing.
is old enough to get this. She maybe is not, but he. You know what? This is the first week of school. Tomorrow,
Yeah.
I can't wait. Please. And my husband just left for San Francisco. Probably timed that on purpose, and so here we are. And I've been purging their toys, so maybe this is payback for the fact that I'm purging toys. But let me ask you, Adam, if they're not playing with the toys anymore, and there's no room in the basement, you have to move on from the toys, correct?
Just like you got to move over to Cade York.
100%.
Oh my God! No, we're not moving on from Cade. I mean, not we. I just don't see the Browns doing it. Look at how many years they gave Anthony Schwartz.
Yeah, that's true.
Look at how many years.
But the difference is. But the difference is, Aditi, with Anthony Schwartz, you could have him on the bench. With the kicker, he's got to kick. And if he costs you games, he can cost you the season.
Right, but there are not there. Can you guys mute me for a second, please, so I can just.
So you can scream.
Let's put Aditi on hold.
Aditi, we'll put you on hold for 1 second.
Let's put her on hold for a minute.
Yo, she about to go so.
Oh man,
mommy,
she's pissed.
listen, as a kid who got whoopings all the time,
who stayed with a whooping.
My God,
I got touched up.
Listen, did you see her face?
She was pissed.
I feel so sorry for them kids right now.
They don't even know it.
Yeah, they don't even know it.
They don't even know it.
And I'm glad that
we're not going to show it, but she is going to town on them right now.
Oh, Lord.
Hey, don't amp them up. See, this is a different generation. In my generation, it was cool to get beat on TV.
I'm anti that.
I used to get over here. Oh, look at this special move.
Man, I got whooped in front of my second grade class one time.
Oh, wow.
That's not appropriate.
We have Aditi back.
Hey, Aditi.
Earl.
Aditi, there's a meme floating around. I know I personally enjoy it. It's parents everywhere saying, "School, come get y'all kids. Come get y'all kids." Tell the schools it's time for y'all to come get y'all kids. We are tired.
I mean, this is insane. You know, the town right next to mine started last week. Whoa! Clearly, I'm not. Excuse me. I need you to. You can't scold your children in public.
Wow.
Say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Hi, baby Aditi.
Now can you go, please? Okay, take the cheese and go.
All right.
Aditi, I do have a question for you. So
wait, but let me go back to the kicker thing really quickly, guys. Kickers are not a dime a dozen. You don't just find them growing on trees whenever you want them. You see an Evan McPherson, a Justin Tucker, a Chris Boswell. The Browns haven't given up on Cade York having that sort of talent. They think there's something he needs to work through. Now, Anthony Schwartz is a little bit different because from the word go, they recognized that he was not a natural pass catcher. They were hoping they could develop him into one. Cade is a kicker. He does have the leg. He knows how to do it. There's something going on right now, and let's not forget, he's not a kid, but he's a young man, and there were certain things that kind of were not set up for him to succeed a year ago. And so they're just not going to give up. They're not going to sit here and say, okay, well, maybe in some ways we messed with his head a little bit, and now we're just going to throw him to the wolves. Especially because they still believe in his talent.
Robbie Gould, Aditi. We need Robbie Gould.
Aditi,
I thought the 49ers were bringing him back.
Well,
who was bringing him back?
I think they offered him a deal.
Oh, did they?
I think they offered him a deal. I'm not sure it was that. Aditi, I am huge on Martin Emerson Jr. I've told McNuggets plenty of times, I think by season's end, that he can be the best corner on this team. When you look throughout the preseason, he was the guy who really made the play on the I think was it the McLeod interception against Kansas City. You've seen a couple preseason games ago, snatched the ball out the receiver's hands even though they blew it dead. I think this guy can take a major step forward. I know I had Grant Delpit as my breakout player for the Browns defense in 2023. I think I want to change that right now to Martin Emerson Jr. Are you seeing what I'm seeing from this guy?
I think everybody's saying it. I mean, if he could be even stickier than he was a year ago, he is even stickier. And that kid has so much moxie and so much self-confidence. And he's playing in a great secondary. I mean, if you're a quarterback, who are you throwing towards? You want to throw away from Denzel Ward. You want to throw away from Greg Newsome, especially if he's in the slot over there. And then you're not throwing at MJ Emerson. So, yes, I totally see it. And I think that all of them are going to look even better because of how fierce this front will be. And don't forget, that's the number one rule in defense, is that the rush and the coverage go together. The better the rush, the better the coverage looks. The better the coverage, the better the rush looks.
Well, I'm going to piggyback off what Earl was saying. It's like, yeah, I love what Martin Emerson is giving me. I love that. I like what Greg Newsome gives me. I don't. Why does Denzel Ward get hurt all the time? Like he's in the concussion protocol as a cornerback who covers people. That's kind of alarming. Is he tackling wrong or what's going on with Denzel?
You know, I'm definitely not smart enough to tell you that. I don't have a medical degree, and so I can't give you that piece of it. I hate to ever call anybody injury prone. I do wonder sometimes about body size, though, and hitting that exact right line. You know, it's a conversation I had with JOK this weekend. As you know, JOK is playing just a little bit heavier than he was a year ago, and you've heard him say the best ability is availability. And so it's not heavier than he's ever played in his life. It's only enough that he feels he doesn't sacrifice any quickness or any speed, but it is just a little bit more bulk. Now, some people, I wouldn't know anything about this, but some people apparently can't actually put on weight, and no matter what they do, they try, and that's that. I don't know if Denzel has tried to bulk up just a little bit. I don't know if he ever did, and then he felt like he sacrificed some speed or quicks or whatever. I can't speak to any of that. I don't know, but you have to believe that the Browns have had those conversations and are trying to figure that out, especially since JOK is in a position where he's acknowledged, you know what, maybe I need a little bit more meat to me.
Mikey, go ahead.
Yeah, Didi, I want to preface this by saying I totally understand the first-team Chiefs offense didn't play. I am well aware of that. It was the second and third string. It was Shane Buechele and Blaine Gabbert at quarterback. But the Browns' defensive efforts were pretty damn impressive, especially in that first quarter. You talked to Juan Thornhill on the sidelines, and I know you were speaking to some other Browns players throughout the game, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Thornhill said they are so excited to play in this Schwartz system. From speaking to them, from seeing it up close and personal 3 weeks in a row now, how evident is the difference in what you see from the first-team defense and those starters this year as opposed to this time last season?
Embarrassing, Adam, really?
They're playing against
you know what?
Steve Buechele. Steve Buechele, Aditi. Come on, give me a break. They're playing against guys who aren't in the NFL. We don't know yet how good it is.
You know what? Here, I'll give you a counter to that. And they didn't play with the guy that will make that defense go, which is Myles Garrett. Because as good as that front looked, as good as Zadarius Smith looked, as good as Dalvin Tomlinson and Shelby Harris, and every single one of them looked, Obo looked, they're all going to look better when Myles Garrett is on the field. And Myles didn't play. You can play it however way you want to play it. No, but Mikey's asking a valid question. Mikey's asking,
I know he is. I'm busting his balls.
Difference? Do you feel that the way they go about their jobs, the way they're approaching what they do is different? Yes, I do. And Jim Schwartz nearly took my head off in my halftime interview, and I still felt ready to run through a wall and go play for him. I mean, the man that holds these people, holds these men to a certain level of accountability and a certain standard. You know, they had, in the first half, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I wish Jim Schwartz was in my house. You know, I got a picture to share with you guys of Kaya coloring in front of Jim Schwartz in the team hotel in the gym. And Jim Schwartz is like, it was so adorable. He's like, you have to hold on to those days. And all I could say was, can I send her to you, and can you shape her up, please?
And you know what, Bull? I'll back up what Aditi has said, because Aditi has been saying since before the preseason started that the Browns defense, regardless of who was out there, it was about an attitude. It was about a style of play. It was about execution. And, Aditi, I got beat up on Twitter, too, because I was raving about the Browns defense going up against the twos. But the reason I was is based off the information given from Aditi before they even played the preseason game.
But here's the point. We can't judge the defense till they play a real game.
I think you can, though.
No, you can't.
Of course.
I think you can. Yes, you can.
Of course
when they play one quarter against backups. It's just like we're judging Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who's playing 2 quarters. There's not the time for the team to adjust. There's not starting players. You can make, little judgments, but you can't say that's what it is.
Adam,
part of
being a fan. Okay, but part of being a fan is having enormous hope. So you should have some sort of hope right now. It doesn't count, so you look for signs of hope. What are signs of optimism? What are signs to sort of say, okay, this could potentially go well? No one is sitting here and writing in ink that these are the 2 teams in the Super Bowl.
They are.
But it is very valid to say, you are? Okay.
No, I'm not.
I'm not.
No, I agree.
Saying,
yeah.
I think it's valid to say this is a defense that is playing with more aggression, that is being held to a different standard of accountability. That when Zadarius Smith says, I am playing with my seatbelt off, and that's what it looks like on the field, it doesn't really matter who you're going against when you're saying, okay, this is an attitude, like Earl said. This is a swagger. This is an approach. And look, again, to your point, Adam, you're right. They had 3 interceptions, 2 pick sixes, and Jim Schwartz was like, this is no way to play. You can't go from big play to giving up big play. That's not how you play defense. Okay, fine, great. That should make you feel good. That is not somebody sitting here and saying, oh, well, great, at least we got 3 turnovers. At least we made 3 splash plays. That's not what the standard for the Browns defense is going to be this year. And so that you should feel good about.
Standard shouldn't be determined. We shouldn't be doing turnover chains in the preseason. To me, that's loser mentality.
But here's the thing.
Being excited about the preseason is loser mentality.
That's just Juan having fun.
That turnover chain is lame. Let's all admit that.
It's not even Juan. It's Tony Fields who brought that. Tony Fields brought in that chain this past week. And it was Juan who said, hey, you know what? Let's take it out of the locker room. And then it was Zadarius that as soon as he saw that comes running to the sideline, grabs the chain, puts it around Juan's neck. And then, of course, he got to wear it for exactly 2 plays before Rodney McLeod is intercepting a pass. It goes around Rodney's neck. And then all of a sudden, Caleb Biggers, who's out of a job, P.S., gets an interception, and it's Juan Thornhill screaming, where's the turnover chain? Where's the turnover chain? Let them have a little fun. It's a game. Let them enjoy themselves. It's the preseason. I mean, I think it's so, ridiculous to sit here and say, no, you're not allowed to enjoy your job.
Well, Didi, I couldn't have said it no better than that.
That's fine. Have fun. But thinking this means anything to me is crazy.
But I was going to ask you this question. It does mean something because one of my favorite quotes in all of football is Mike Tomlin saying, the standard is the standard. If you never set the standard, how do you know what the standard is?
I don't think you set the standard in the preseason.
No,
that's
you do.
all I'm saying.
You do. No, you set
Browns went 4-0.
Of course you did. You set the
the year they went 0-16.
You set the
It's got an organizational ethos.
There you go.
You set the standard way back in OTAs. Don't say you don't set the standard in the spring. Of course, this is about an organization and how an organization operates and thinks and what they expect. And the best organizations set their standards long before they ever step on a field that matters.
Well, then they went 1-2-1, so it was a failure.
Let me just give you another example of this. Let me just give you another example of this. I can remember being a kid in grade school, right? And your teacher would say, if you do X, Y, and Z, you get a sticker. And the one with the most stickers at the end of the week, they will be recognized. Now, in the grand scheme of things, the stickers don't mean a damn thing when it comes to my grades and come to my attendance. But it's a psychological thing. You know what? Let me get my hands on that sticker. I want to wear the chain. Good. And so, these guys, they just having some fun. But I definitely agree that the attitude, the standard, the swag, all of that, you set that before you get to the regular season. Because you can't come out against Cincinnati in week 1 all of a sudden trying to find your identity.
And if they play poorly in week 1, what did all of this matter?
The identity is the identity. But even Jim Schwartz said with some of the backups, right? He says, he was pissed off at the effort. Aditi, correct me if I'm wrong. But he felt like some of these backup guys who was trying to make the team, that they should have played a little harder. Yeah, y'all got some turnovers and y'all made some plays, but you turn around and you giving up 30-yard, 40-yard passes. That can't go. So all I'm saying is you establish who you are right now. You can't roll into week one.
And last year we were saying the same thing.
Yes.
Look at this defense. They're going to be good. They're going to be there, all this.
And that's the whole point, is that they made a change. They invested in that defensive front. They didn't just sit here and say, okay, we'll see if the young guys in the interior of the line show up. And they made a change at defensive coordinator. They let go a guy that they personally liked, and they brought in somebody who's one of the biggest taskmasters in the NFL.
Yeah.
So, again, don't compare. Okay, so last year didn't work, and they're making a change. And then the other thing, Adam, you're sitting here and saying, what happens if it doesn't go well week one? You're just going to give up on the whole season? You know what? A few years ago in Kevin Stefanski's first season, I was there when it went awful against the Ravens. It was the worst week one showing I've perhaps ever seen in my entire life. And you know how the Browns ended that season? By going to the playoffs and beating the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. Don't give up after 1 week.
I get what you're saying. I'm not saying I'd write off the season. But the idea, I think we're going in circles at this point. It's fine. If you believe that playing well with 10 plays against a backup offense, against a quarterback that's never going to play in the NFL is meaningful, maybe you're right. I don't know. I don't see it that way. I think in Cleveland, we spent too much time telling ourselves how good we are before we've proven that we're good. And that's what you got. You got to win when it matters. You got to play well when it matters.
But I don't think anybody's saying it's an either or. I don't think anybody's saying you're celebrating the preseason.
Yeah.
All right, well, you would know better because you do wake up in that city and you're listening to talk radio in that city. So I will give you that. It's delusional if you're sitting and thinking that you've won anything with the preseason. But you can see signs of hope in the preseason. You can see things to be optimistic about in the preseason. You can also see where you may potentially need some help, which is what is going on this week with all this roster maneuvering.
Would you agree? And I agree with everything you said there. Would you agree it is laughable that people think Dorian Robinson-Thompson is good based on 3 preseason games where he's played like a quarter or a half?
Good is such a weird word for me. I think he's promising.
There are actually people in our fan base.
I think he's showing enormous promise. I think that he's given you everything you could have wanted in the preseason and something more. And that goes to work ethic, that goes to attitude, that goes to approach. And even though they weren't shopping Josh Dobbs, and even though that phone call for Josh Dobbs surprised them, they're not making that move if they don't think that he is promising, that he's showing potential, and that he is good enough to be the number 2 quarterback. They're not bringing in another quarterback here to be Deshaun Watson's backup. And I spent a lot of time talking to Deshaun Watson about this because I've also spent a lot of time with a lot of teams where they had a veteran quarterback who still had a veteran in the quarterback room because it was someone to talk to. It was someone's brain to pick. It was someone that you trusted to say, hey, what'd you just see out there? What'd you just see out there on the field? Right. I mean, think about Ben Roethlisberger all those years with Charlie Batch or with Bruce Gradkowski or even with Landry Jones, as opposed to with a young guy. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger is ostensibly going into the Hall of Fame. He doesn't need to pick somebody's brain, but he wanted to have an older guy in the room. And so I asked Deshaun about that. And he said, yeah, Josh Dobbs is obviously one of the smartest guys in the league. Josh Dobbs obviously has played in the AFC North, so he has a ton of familiarity with the AFC North. But he also said he's excited for Dobbs to get a chance to start, and he's a veteran. And also, Dorian Thompson-Robinson is making an active effort to be an asset. And I can tell you this, and I told you this, I think, just a week ago. I watched him on the sideline. He is engaged in every single conversation that the quarterbacks are having or that Deshaun Watson is having with Alex Van Pelt or Kevin Stefanski in a way that Kellen Mond wasn't. He's sitting right there. He's listening. He's sticking his head in. He's looking at the tablet too. He's asking questions. So he recognizes that part of being in that room is, again, I'll use his word, being an asset to the starting quarterback. Browns aren't making this move if they don't think that he can be all of those things.
Aditi, I just want to make a quick analogy. Now, you work on the sidelines, and in your profession, you do hours and hours of research on both of these teams just to get the opportunity to possibly say 3-4 times on air a question to get one of these players or to speak. I kind of compare that to, when we talk about whether practice or preseason games. Do you find that your preparation during the week is akin to preseason games and getting acclimated so that you prove and show your worth on those 3 to 4 questions with the work you put in prior?
I'll give you a perfect example of that. So during the regular season, one of the worst things that a sideline reporter can ever do is speak over a snap. The most important thing is that the play-by-play guy gets to say exactly what happens. You cannot be talking over a play. If you remember a year ago, I went viral with that Tua story. I had to tell that story in, I think, 20 seconds in between plays. In the preseason, my producer has told me, you can talk over the plays. It's the preseason. You interview guys on the field and we talk over plays. Don't worry. But whenever I had a story to tell or a report or an injury update, I made sure I talked in between snaps because I need those reps of having that timing down. And I will tell you, week 1, I screwed up because I talked transitions. When I say I screwed up, I tried transitioning off of what Joe Thomas said, and then there'd be a snap, and I realized that I didn't necessarily get the most important point in that I wanted to because I took too long to get to it. That's the preseason. So I was better with my updates and my reports week 3 than I was week 1, at least for mine, week 4, week 2, whatever, however you're looking at it. Then and that's how you want it to work. That's what the operation in the preseason is. So yes, perfect analogy. Thank you very much, G.
You're welcome.
Aditi, I love fighting with you on the air. It's good arguing with you. That takes me to my next story. So I went to Pittsburgh.
Oh boy.
I was supposed to go to Pittsburgh. We were planning to go for the yesterday afternoon game. And at the last minute, it was like 3 o'clock on Saturday, right? The Cubs and Pirates were playing at 7:15 Saturday night. And at 3 o'clock, I got a note, on wherever I was looking, that the Cubs were calling up one of their top pitching prospects to pitch Saturday night. He's going to make his Major League debut. So my wife was out. I called her. I said, we're going to game tonight. Forget tomorrow. I want it because if this guy becomes the next great Cubs pitcher, we could say we were at his first game. So we get in the car. We got going probably about 4:30. All right, we got 4:30. No traffic, but once we got to downtown Pittsburgh, a little traffic. You right by the stadium. Sure. I thought it'd be empty because the Pirates stink. So I thought there'd be no Pirate fans there. But what I didn't realize it was fireworks night. So the place was sold out. The game was, if it wasn't sold out, it was close to sold out. So anyway, we went down there. From a baseball perspective, the Cubs pitcher they called up, a kid named Jordan Wicks, was their first-round pick 2 years ago. First batter of the Pirates hits a home run. Next batter a single. Next batter a walk. He goes 2-0 to the fourth batter. Pitching coach comes out. He then retires 15 batters in a row with 9 strikeouts. Did great. Got his first Major League win. So he turns into a great player. But there was this couple sitting in front of us. I wanted to beat the shit out of both of them. Now, I would never hit a woman, so I'm not going to do that. But the guy he probably could have kicked my ass because he looked like he was 20 years younger than me. But it's one of those, did you ever go to like anything, a sporting event, a show, and there's a couple sitting in front of you that they're kind of newish on the dating. They're trying to impress each other. Every 10 seconds, they're making Instagram freaking videos. They're both drunk. They're both obnoxious. And I'm blaming you because it's your city. They were out of line, these people. And you got to get them under control, will you?
Okay, first of all, how do you even know they were from Pittsburgh? What if they were just like you and they'd driven in from Cleveland?
They were Pirate fans.
That's a great point.
Nobody wants the Pirates outside of Pittsburgh.
Aditi right is taking Bull to school today. This is embarrassing.
Aditi, they were definitely from Pittsburgh. I heard the Yinzer accent on them.
I'm going to be on the radio with you, okay? If this is the way I'm treated.
What's that? And let me tell you something else. The girl was basically naked. She was basically, I don't understand how some people dress. This girl was basically naked.
I mean, first you asked me to defend Cade York. Then you asked me to defend Jim Schwartz and his defense. And now you want me to defend people that I've never even seen or met and know nothing about? Come on now. And it's not my city. I just live there.
But everybody, I'm kidding. But you've seen that couple, right? They're so obnoxious. What's with the Instagram videos? They didn't pay it. You could tell even the people that they were with didn't want them to be there. There were like 3 other women sitting there. They were like, "Oh God, well, who invited these idiots to the game?"
We all know people like that.
Oh God, they're the worst.
It's part of storytelling, I guess, right? Yeah. All right, guys.
See ya.
I really apologize
Get
for
those
my
kids
children.
in line, will you?
Bye, Aditi. Talk to you later.
Hey, this is the best you've
Bye,
ever been,
guys.
Aditi. This is hey, you
That's it.
killed it today. Salute to you,
Feisty
and
Aditi
shout
was
out to
on
your
one
kids.
today.
See you later.
Awesome. And before we get to our next topic,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about the receivers and what to do now with the loaded receiver room for the Browns. I do want to remind you guys that there are 2 membership tiers to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, starters tier and coaches tier for $1.99. In the starters tier, you get custom loyalty badges and emojis in the chat. For $4.99 a month, you get those same starter tier perks, plus overtime videos, membership shout-outs, discount codes for merch, and much, much more.
Why do people feel the need to get wasted at sporting events?
Because it's fun to get wasted
Come on,
sometimes.
fun,
grow
man.
up. Sticking them away.
I mean, as long as
Why can't you have fun without getting wasted? I don't understand that.
If you get drunk, and as long as you drive professionally, don't drive, you get an Uber, and you don't put your hands on nobody, you're not obnoxious. I mean,
But they are. But inevitably, there are not. This guy had the most punchable face. Some people say I have the most punchable face. It's up there. Like I'm fine. I'm top 5 punchable faces. You got Trump. You got me. You got who did I say had a punchable face? Aaron Rodgers has a punchable face.
I know where this is going, and we can punch a lot of people.
Yeah.
But we still have 2 major topics.
Oh,
in this
calm
we gotta
down with
get
the major
to.
topics.
We
We'll
got to
to
get them in, Bull.
We'll get to them. Go ahead, Earl.
No,
Let Earl make his point.
No, I'll say this.
Yeah.
I used to tailgate before every single Browns game, and
Yeah.
I never left the Muni lot not drunk, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, and this is just being drunk sometimes is fun. As long as you don't do nothing crazy to cause harm to somebody else or to find yourself in jail, you got to live a little, man. You can be dead tomorrow, man. Have some fun. Kick it a little bit.
Why can't you have fun? You know me, I have fun all the time.
There are people like that, though. But
get it.
Give me some tequila. And let's turn up a little bit.
I don't mean like a little fun drunk. I mean wasted. Where you can barely speak. And that's how this guy was.
I've been there before. I've been there before. Early 20s when you first started drinking, I think we all been there before.
Get your ankles twisted.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I've been there, but this guy wasn't early 20s.
He just walking, and maybe had a rough week.
This girl, by the way, the girl was way out of his league. He was a tool nugget, and this girl was smoking hot.
You
A
can't,
tool nugget?
and you dry snitching. You can't say that. You can't.
I can't say that?
No, you can't say that. Once you get past that age, and a man is with a woman, she's with him for some reason.
I don't think they're married though.
I mean, but
she's probably. But she looked like a big loser also. Anyway,
you done downgraded her? She was hot. Did you downgrade her?
She's a loser. She all on social media. Let him live, boy. Let him live.
No.
Man. Let him live.
No.
Let him live.
Dad, you can't hate like that.
Anyway, let's get to the wide receivers, guys.
Speaking of
Mike's gonna
living,
have a heart
Marquise
attack.
Goodwin back from the dead, essentially.
Wow.
Jeez, Mike.
What is going on here?
Holy
No,
cow.
really, we didn't think he was going to play this year.
We
He's
did not.
been upgraded.
We were talking out our ass because we didn't really know. But Chris Godwin is back from the dead, apparently, according to Mike. Jeez. What does that mean? What is the finger like that? Explain that to me.
Let us all pray.
That's the Austin Powers.
Let us all
Oh, that's what it is?
Hey, yeah.
I think those movies all suck. You like Austin Powers?
Yeah, I used to think they was funny as hell.
We're going to get back on track with this. Let's get Marquise Goodwin, shout out to him.
I'm glad he's healthy.
First and foremost, shout out to him and his family. He came on the show. He had a great interview, just what he does. But I kind of reiterated it and kind of alluded to this earlier in the show. Deshaun Watson saying, oh, listen, it's going to be fireworks, right? One of the things that we all felt was missing from this roster, and I still felt it as I watched Deshaun Watson this preseason, was the vertical threat. We talk about Anthony Schwartz not being able to make this team. He's cut. He was the guy with the speed. We talk about Jakeem Grant, who they were going to put on the team. We thought he was gone, but they would just keep him.
That's incredible, by the way. That he comes back and his first play he tears his knee again.
And I know how disheartening that is. I saw my ACL against we was playing Phillip Rivers at NC State. And this is years ago, 2001 or something. I tear my ACL. I had surgery on it December 13th. And when you tear your ACL, you know exactly the day. It's like your children. You know when they're born. Yeah. I had surgery on this knee December 13th, and then I worked my way back all summer, stayed on campus, and then the week before we played Pittsburgh, I tore this ACL. Had my 8 months later, tore my ACL. My left knee, had surgery on August 24th. I say that to say this. Shout out to Jakeem Grant because I know how hard it is to work that way, come back. It's just devastating mentally. Sucks. But he was going to provide some speed on special teams. He's going to provide a punch too, and he's out for the season. So now you're looking at an offense that is, yes, has some pieces and parts, But Amari Cooper's not a burner. Donovan Peoples-Jones is not a burner. Elijah Moore, they want to use as a gadget guy or moving around, do some things. He's speedy, but he doesn't have that long speed like Marquise Goodwin. You go back to OTAs, you see the 2 deep balls that he completed, and he's a guy that can run and catch the football. This was huge news.
But let me ask you this.
Huge.
You think he's going to be ready to play week 1?
I don't. I'm throwing caution to the wind.
Yeah.
I think it's great that he's activated.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool for us to look at as fans and people who cover this team of the potential of the wide receiver room with him in it. But he's dealing with or coming off of blood clots in his lungs and in his legs. And those are 2 very serious areas to have blood clots. And so, just to see him working his way back is like, okay, let's take baby steps with this. But I don't want to start imagining or penciling him in as a contributor immediately. Maybe after the first 4, maybe after the bye week. Let's say they activated him, but maybe after the bye week he can become a contributor. But I don't think that just because he's been activated that now all of a sudden Deshaun Watson has that weapon disposable to him immediately.
I guess we'll see. I mean, on one hand, I see what G sees because I'm like, well, it wasn't a muscle pull. It wasn't a strained calf.
And the doctors aren't going to put him in harm's way.
They wouldn't have allowed him to be activated if they thought he was at risk. However, what's his conditioning right now? Has he been able to run? Has he been able to do all those things? I don't know. It is 2 weeks till the start of the season, so it's possible he plays week 1. I would think maybe he doesn't, but at some point, even if it's not week 1, he does provide a potential threat that they don't really have.
Even if it takes him a month to get acclimated, to learn his playbook. For what we're saying, he's been.
I bet it doesn't take him that long. He's a savvy vet. He's been around forever.
He's been at the facility. He's been in a room and doing his studying. So I think that won't be an issue. Even if he don't play to the 3rd game, I still think that's a huge factor because that factor scares teams. It opens up the playbook. Now all the underneath stuff is happening. That's one of my big concerns going into the season was when I saw that Schwartz got cut and I knew that Jakeem Grant had tore his knee up, I'm like, that's the missing piece to this offense.
Guys, let's talk about the depth of the wide receiver group. We know, or I assume Goodwin's going to be on the team, right? So we know that there's 5 spots definitely accounted for. If they only keep 6, then the last spot will come down to David Bell and Austin. Why can't I think of Austin's first name?
Watkins.
Austin Watkins Jr.
Oh, that is his first name, Austin Watkins. Austin Watkins had a great start to the preseason, didn't really do much yesterday. In the end, I still think, even though it shouldn't, the facts are that Austin Watkins never ran with the first team at all. Mm-hmm. Never. If they keep 6 wide receivers, I'll be very surprised if they keep Watkins over Bell. You may not like that because Watkins had a better preseason, but Bell's lined up with the first team some. Watkins has not. That tells you something. Now, maybe they'll keep 7 receivers and they'll both be here, but I think they're more likely to keep 6, and I don't think, as good a preseason as he's had, I don't think Watkins is going to be on the team.
I agree for the record.
I don't. I disagree with that. I think that when I look at what David Bell did last year and when I look at what he's done this year, you can argue that Austin Watkins has made more of or just about the same amount with the opportunities given to him than David Bell has. Now, I do agree with the fact he's never ran with the ones. That was one of the things that I really wanted to see against Kansas City because I'm a guy who believes that Austin Watkins is going to make the team and possibly be a contributing factor.
But if he was going to make the team, wouldn't they have given him those opportunities?
So it was like, okay, let's see him with the ones. And the fact that Kevin Stefanski didn't put him out there with the ones, it kind of raised some eyebrows, so to speak. But when I look at, just the physique, just what I've seen from him in preseason this year, and I understand David Bell has made some plays as well, it's just something in my gut says he's the better player to keep at wide receiver 6 than David Bell. And I get it. David Bell was a draft pick last year. We all know how this organization rolls, right? They don't like to give up on guys that they drafted. Yeah. And then people can point to, well, he won the award to being the best receiver in the Big Ten. I call BS on that, right? Yeah, they'll tell you he beat out Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
all that's cool and all, but he ain't even on that level.
But in the end, whatever you think should happen, to me, in the end, I think the reality is he didn't play with the ones. Yeah. I don't think they look at him as a guy on the
But
team.
you know what, Bull? I'll say this as well, and I've had some days to think on this. Regardless of who they keep as the 6th wide receiver, I don't think it's going to matter much, right? because I think that you're going to see probably 4 to 5 of those wide receivers have an impact. And we keep forgetting the fact that, these tight ends is a part of the pass catching group as well. And these tight ends are going to be contributing factors. And I always go back to Jordan Akins, a guy that he played with in Houston, seems to be a guy that he has high chemistry with, and a guy that, along with David Njoku, should have a pretty good season. And so these guys are depth guys in case somebody gets hurt. I don't look at them to be the contributing factors that I did. Maybe I was drinking the Kool-Aid after the first couple, because I was with Jay saying he might be wide receiver 3.
The reality is,
I jumped out the gym with that one.
Yeah, the reality is that whoever makes a team between Watkins and Bell, even if they both make it, they're probably going to be inactive on game days.
Yeah.
Because you're not having more than 5 wide receivers active.
Yeah, especially with 2 or 3 tight ends.
Right, and you know that unless Godwin's not ready to go, then maybe one of them. But you know that Tillman, if they're healthy, Tillman and Godwin will be 4 and 5 and will be active on game day.
My problem is, it's a lot of political stuff that go on, right? Could you see Austin Watkins Jr. get cut this year? You could see that, because here's the thing.
He could be on the practice squad.
He's not going to make the practice squad.
He ain't making a practice squad.
Why?
He's too good.
I gotta imagine some.
You don't think there's a guy on many other teams in the league that have had 200 yards in the preseason?
No.
I'm gonna look it up.
No. Listen, it don't even got to do with the yardage. It's the types of catches he made. I've seen him make one-handed catches. I've seen him make back shoulder catches. I've seen him catch the ball and run. I've seen him go high point to football. He will not be on the practice squad. Somebody's going to grab this guy and put him.
You know what I just thought about? What's a team, and this team is in our division.
He did play one more game.
They always seem to go get wide receivers. They never really get wide receivers in the first round. They develop these wide receivers to being ballers, and they've done so probably for the last 10 to 15 years, and I think it don't get talked about. You know what that is? The Pittsburgh Steelers. Can you imagine a team like that going to get – because I'm with Mike. Austin Watkins is not making it. He's not making it to no practice squad.
That had 200 or more receivers.
Yeah, but that's not fair, because they played 4 games. These other teams played 3.
I mean, he had one catch.
Okay, he had one catch for 12 yards yesterday, so that kind of balances it out.
Yeah, but
he had one catch for 12 yards.
He played one more game. He had one more opportunity. You got to go yards per game. In yards per game, he is 5th.
He bought out.
No, really 4th, because the one guy only played one game.
I mean, that's. But I'm not looking at just the stats. I'm looking at.
I'm not convinced he's going to be playing.
I just don't.
I'm looking at, can you play? My thing is,
can you come out and play?
David Bell has not outperformed him in any way, shape, or form in 3 years, 2 years. He does not have the physical traits that he has. David Bell has not outplayed him. Now, will the Browns keep him on the team because he's a 3rd-round pick? There's a chance. You could look at the track record. They just cut Anthony Schwartz. And if you don't think this, when you in a general manager's office, they got a big whiteboard, right? And they got where you was drafted and what year you was drafted. Now, if you look at that big whiteboard, Anthony Schwartz, 3rd-round pick, you just cut him this year, that means you missed. Jordan Elliott, 3rd-round pick, he might not make the roster, that means you missed on that again. Phillips, he's been here 4 years, he's injured again, you missed on that one. So keep going. Cade York, I got a big decision to make on a 4th-round pick.
Aditi really is convinced he's staying.
Hey, Demetric Felton, you was a 5th-round pick.
Yeah.
So if you start adding these picks up, and these are all misses, and it's close at the end of the year, and you may not have the year you want, you could possibly be on the bubble. They may let Stefanski go and say, well, let me look at Andrew Berry. He did acquire this, but let me look at his drafts.
Yeah.
And if all his draft picks are getting shadow realmed, it does not look good that you missed on a 4th-round pick.
That's fair.
And an undrafted free agent. Beat him out.
Now, you did bring in that undrafted free agent, too.
Yes.
But in the end, I don't know. Hopefully, it doesn't matter who their 6th receiver is, because
hopefully
if you stay healthy, that guy's not going to play much.
Hopefully, it don't even come down to that. But we've done this. I mean, Amari Cooper 1, Donovan Peoples-Jones 2, Elijah Moore 3.
Elijah Moore 3. I thought he was going to have 1,500.
No, I'm just going down. Like Cedric Tillman.
Yeah.
We would say Marquise Goodwin 5. So I don't think the Browns keep more than 6.
Yeah, no.
Like, I'm one of those people that believe that they are going to keep 3 tight ends. They might not do a lot of 12, 13 personnel.
Yeah.
I still think you'll keep 3 tight ends.
Most teams do.
To me, 6 wide receivers, 3 tight ends, that's 9 pass catchers.
But Mikey, here's my thing. I'm going to ask you this question. Yes. How is it that DTR can play so well that he becomes the 2nd-team quarterback, But preseason don't count. But Watkins can play catching the football from DTR, and that don't count.
Well, I would say, first of all, we don't know that it doesn't count, to be fair. Number two, the preseason games are part of the puzzle, right?
Right.
They're part of the puzzle, just like classroom, just like maybe DTR is fantastic at all the things we don't see, and maybe Watkins is just okay in the things we don't see. Maybe. I'm not saying that's the case, but yeah.
To your point, and this goes back to Earl, and I've seen a lot of people say they're going to keep 7 receivers or think they should keep 7. First off, you only really have 5 active on any given game day. So 6 and 7 is kind of a luxury. And the 6 and 7 you do have, they better be special teams aces. And I'm not sure we've seen Bell and/or Watkins in particular play very much on special teams. So those guys very unlikely to get in the rotation, even if they do make the roster, if everyone's healthy. Godwin's health, obviously a concern, but if you're going to be a 6th or 7th, especially a 7th, you better be a special teams ace. And unless I'm missing something, and tell me if I'm wrong, I don't think Watkins has made an impact on special teams.
I mean, I haven't seen him on special teams.
I haven't either.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So that's why I lean towards Bell being the guy they keep as opposed to Watkins.
We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised, by the way, and I agree with Earl that they're going to keep 3 tight ends. I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up going out of the organization for another tight end. I wouldn't be surprised if they go out of the organization for another running back, even though they just did
They're
yesterday.
going to keep 4, and we're going to get to that in a sec.
Yeah.
They're going to have 4 running backs on the 53-man roster.
Why do you say that?
I'm pretty confident in that. I don't, and me and Earl talked about this morning, so you want to just transition to the running backs?
Yeah,
let's do that. I got one more fast read. We'll talk a little running backs here as it ties everything together. But, guys, we mentioned it before. We are at record. I can't wait to tell you all the numbers. Wait till y'all see the damn
I've been looking. I've been all in the chat.
Yeah. Hello, everybody.
Roof. Thank you to everyone out there.
Were they getting mad at me when I was arguing with them?
Oh, they was going crazy with you. They was going crazy.
Yeah, they were
because they misunderstand what I'm saying. Let me just clarify, okay? Because people misunderstand, and I know they're not going to hear what they only hear what they want to hear. I'm not saying the Browns' defense isn't going to be good. Not saying that at all. I think it's going to be very good. I'm saying that the preseason doesn't prove that they're good. That's my only point.
I'll just say this.
They're not going to be good.
I'll just say this to the people in the UCSS chat.
I'll say that about every team.
And to the people that's watching at home, good, bad, or indifferent, whether you agree, disagree, whatever the case may be. I personally appreciate you taking time out today and pulling up on us. You could be doing anything that you want to, and you here with us. So shout out to
even the haters. I love you haters. I love you.
And whether you love us or hate us, hit the like button because it's free. Do us a favor. Hit that like and
subscribe
button.
Go ahead, Mike. Let's get to the running backs after you read.
Well, that was the read. I just want to tell people to like and subscribe. We had all our reads in today. So we're going to combine the 2 running back segments.
Mike, so we'll get to the trade in a second. But let me just say this. Nick Chubb better not get hurt. Because even though running backs are sometimes treated as a dime a dozen, Nick Chubb is not a dime a dozen. Mm-hmm. He's very important to this team. And in your 32 and 32, he's number
8. He's number 8.
I think you guys dropped the ball having Nick Chubb 8. I mean,
I think in hindsight,
poor.
I disagree with my own rankings on this one.
Who had him? I'm not even. I can't. Man, me and Anthony tell Mike all the time. This list was like, I don't know who's where on the list. I don't know where I had Nick Chubb or anything like this. But while they're going through that, I will say this: me and Mike did have a conversation this morning, and to me, the fact that you traded for a running back. It spells out a lot of different things. I agree, first and foremost. Nick Chubb cannot get hurt. Nick Chubb gets hurt, it's different. I remember he echoed what you just said when he was on the Pivot podcast, and he talked about that. A lot of people has this assumption that anybody can come in and just do what I do. And he said that's exactly why I work so hard to always separate myself. But we've heard all this noise about Jerome Ford. They love Jerome Ford. They believe Jerome Ford is this guy, this, that, and the third. You suffered a soft tissue injury that pretty much kept you out the entire camp, all the preseason, and I highly doubt that you'll be ready for week 1. And like I told him, when you got those hamstring issues, those soft tissue issues, that's something that's probably going to linger for the entire season. So the Browns definitely had to go out there and get another running back. We all know Demetri Felton ain't it. Yeah. John Kelly ain't it. Mm-mm. And to be totally honest with you, Pierre Strong, that's a nice little trade because they needed offensive line depth. You needed running back depth. But I'm still not sure they're not even done shopping for
I don't think they're necessarily done there either. Pierre Strong, as a rookie last year, was drafted before Jerome Ford. He did have 10 carries for 100 yards, which is obviously very impressive. But it was only 10 carries. He didn't play much. Mike, what's the breakdown, the 3 of you on Nick Chubb?
I had him at 9. those two had him at 8, and I think I'm wrong. In my
you know where I have Nick Chubb on my list?
Probably 2.
No, not that high.
Oh, listen.
5. I got him at 5.
You know
I
what?
just told Anthony I would put him at 6. In my recalculations, I think he should be 6.
Now, McNuggets, I have him at 2.
You have him at 2. I have Myles Garrett.
I have him at 2.
Wow.
And the reason I got him at 2 is I've been doing the research on it, and you guys can let me know if I'm wrong. But in the last 30 or 40 years, I cannot think of, I would just say 30. So just go since 99. I can't think of an elite quarterback, top 5 type talent quarterback with a top 5 running back.
I'll give you one.
What's that?
It might have been just before that, the Rams.
Rams.
I mean, Peyton Manning had Edgerrin James.
Peyton Manning had Marshall Faulk too, didn't he? Or was Faulk gone by then?
No, he had Edgerrin James at that time.
Edgerrin James was...
Edgerrin James was a beast.
He was.
Don't you do that?
But I'm trying to say, is he a top? At
that time, he was probably top 2 or 3.
So, I mean, Roethlisberger had Bettis.
Yeah, he did.
At the end of his
and
career.
Le'Veon Bell.
But I think this will be controversial. And the people that were hating me will like me on this one, though. I think that Deshaun Watson I saw in Houston is a better quarterback than Ben Roethlisberger. He hasn't proven anything when it matters, but I think he's a better quarterback. And Nick Chubb is definitely better than Jerome Bettis, is he in the Hall of Fame, Jerome Bettis? I can't remember.
He is in the Hall of he is in the Hall of Fame already.
But I would take Nick Chubb over Jerome Bettis any day of the week.
And I would take him over Edgerrin James.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm saying is the dynamic, if you got 2 of those guys, now it changes things, because we talked about with Nick Chubb, people think they can come in and do what I can do. No. You got a guy that's averaging 5.3 yards per carry. Yeah. And now you got a quarterback who you can't just afford to just leave out here. Like, he can make the throws. So now the offense is different. Now it's like, pick your poison. And I don't think that when you look at defenses out there, defenses are equipped to do one thing. Defenses now are equipped to have a pass rusher and corners to stop the passing game. You can't do both at once. You cannot stop the run and stop the pass at the same time. So if you want to stop the pass, Nick Chubb's going to get you 6 yards running the ball downhill against corners, safeties, and small linebackers.
And he makes the first man miss more than any running back. We've seen it even more than Derrick Henry, which is hard to believe because Derrick Henry's probably got him like 20, 30 pounds.
Yeah.
I've been using G's expression a lot. There's levels to this, right? You talk about not anybody can do it, right? Like, a guy could do it for one game. Like, I can bring in some slappy running back, and he might be able to do what Nick Chubb do for one game, but he can't do it consistently over a season. Even Nick Chubb's not great for 17 games. There's going to be some games he doesn't have a good game, or they're behind and they can't get to him, whatever. But consistently, 95% of the time, Nick Chubb's going to play great. These other backs who do it once in a while, they can't do that if they played every week. That's it. It's just like with a backup quarterback. Like, I can trust Jacoby Brissett or what's his name, Ryan Fitzpatrick. A couple of weeks, okay, we can go with those guys. But I don't want them my quarterback for 17 weeks because I know they're not good enough to be good for 17 weeks. That's it. Nick Chubb brings another level to this offense that nobody else on this team is close to, right? You're right. He should be even higher than 5 but we're so used to saying running back doesn't matter. On this team, it does. Obviously, it doesn't matter more than Deshaun Watson.
Right.
That would be a bigger loss. But Nick Chubb, I would say, might even be a bigger loss than Myles Garrett, which is insane. But because the only reason I say that is because the Browns' D-line is good without Myles Garrett. Right. I think it will be good. It should be good without Myles Garrett. Not elite like it can be with Myles Garrett, but still good. Their running back group is nothing. Besides, it's all Nick Chubb. No, the rest of the guys are nothing.
Listen, and it's funny because you set it up, not to go back to the running back conversation we had about the value of the running back position, but this is why I love the comments that Andrew Berry made at the beginning of training camp when he talked about evaluating that position. He says, man, listen, you can't evaluate the running back position as a whole. You need to go situation by situation, team to team, because some teams like the Tennessee Titans and the Cleveland Browns and the San Francisco 49ers, you got guys that can make a huge difference in the outcome of your game. These are not just your everyday running backs. And like Nick Chubb said, I put in the work to separate myself, right? And I've told you all this on this set before. Growing up for me, I'm 35 years old. And growing up early 2000s, Adrian Peterson was that dude. LaDainian Tomlinson was that dude. And we progress here to 2023, and we talk about the running back position not holding the same value. And I always ask myself the same question when evaluating Nick Chubb. When I look at Nick Chubb, do I see a guy with Adrian Peterson's potential and can possibly get to that level? Do I see a guy that got...
I think he's already at that level.
Do I see a guy with LaDainian Tomlinson potential and can get to that level? And every single time I tell myself yes. And that's why I've always viewed Nick Chubb's situation at running back different than any other back in the league. I don't care about what the market is for every other running back. Tell me what the market is for Nick Chubb, number 24 for the Cleveland Browns. Because his situation is totally different from Nate's situations. You cannot box him in with everybody else when he constantly shows you he stands out.
And he said on the Pivot podcast, he said 2 high safeties. He said when Deshaun is in, I'm seeing 2 high safeties because Deshaun Watson has the ability to take the top off the defense. So now you got to play 2 high safety. And Nick Chubb says, I've never seen 2 high safeties in my life. It's just me. And like you said, he's been one of the most elusive backs. Not only the yards per carry, he makes people miss the most. He's elusive. He can run over you. He can run around you. He can catch the ball. He makes cuts that people don't normally see. And it's not just Nick Chubb. It's the combination of Nick Chubb and Deshaun Watson that could be lethal because now you telling me, well, now you want to load the box? Well, I got Amari Cooper out here, and you can't cover him one-on-one.
No.
So what are you going to do?
Yeah. Nick Chubb is number 1 at breaking tackles, number 1 at yards after contact, and number 1 in fourth down production. I mean, those are the most important things.
You know what else he said in that podcast, man? He says, man, the goal is to take a team soul. He said, man, you beat a team down. You physically beat a team down by running the ball at them time in and time out. And it's like, this dude shows you, man, that he can take your soul. He seems to always make the right decisions on the football field, minus the Jets game, which he admitted to. But more often than not, he makes the right decisions on the football field and off the football field. Nick Chubb's importance to this team is like, to me, it's almost second to none. We talk a lot about Myles Garrett. We talk a lot about Deshaun Watson, man. But football is won and lost in the trenches. And I do know enough to know that when it get cold outside and that football is rock hard, you would prefer to turn around and be able to hand it off to a guy that you can depend on.
That was crazy, Paul. You said rock. You threw rock in front of me.
I threw rock hard in front of me.
Oh, my gosh. That was, wow. I had to take my hat off.
This is a PG show, buddy.
Yeah,
calm down here.
Major pause.
Earl's cursing all the time. He's out of control.
Significant
So to
pause.
improve the running back room over the weekend, the Browns traded Tyrone Wheatley to New England in exchange for Pierre Strong. The Browns also just waived Michael Dunn, by the way.
They did waive Michael Dunn.
They waived Michael Dunn.
Did you hear that? The Browns just waived Michael Dunn.
So they kept Forbes.
It sounds like Forbes beat out Michael Dunn here. That's from Tom Pelissero and has been confirmed by Mary Kay Cabot. But back to the Pierre Strong
By the way, I tweeted this yesterday before the Pierre Strong trade, and I still feel this way.
Kenyon Drake.
I think the Browns should go sign Kenyon Drake. All right? I know he's older, but he was still an effective back for the Ravens last year. He's played in the AFC North. He can catch passes. I liked bringing in what I got to pay him? Just over the minimum? $1 million?
I like Kenyon Drake. He can return.
I mean, 4.5 yards per carry for a career is pretty darn good. For a guy who's been around a while.
He can return some kicks for you.
Yeah, I mean, he's a flexible player. He's been on good teams. He's been in the AFC North. If I'm the Browns, I'm interested in this guy.
I got a backfield of him, as well as Pierre Strong. Now, I like Pierre Strong.
Yeah, I know Kenyon Drake.
Yeah.
If Nick Chubb has to sit a series, I know he can get me some first downs.
I like that. Yeah. To me, right now, when we was looking at it with Kelly and Demetric Felton, that wasn't getting it done. No. And the Browns knew that immediately. They brought the other dude in. He dropped the ball on a handoff. Wilkins, he dropped the rock twice. He got to go. So they need to me, we need 2 more backs.
I know you saw my poll. They had Deshaun Watson as the I put a poll up on Twitter.
This was crazy.
And I said, who do you think will be the Cleveland Browns' second leading rusher? And I think the options was Jerome Ford, Deshaun Watson, Elijah Moore, and other.
I mean, anybody that would vote for Elijah, Deshaun Watson could be the second leading rusher. If you vote for Elijah Moore, you're insane. What's he going to have, 150 yards?
Yeah, maybe.
It was like 15% of the people voted for Elijah Moore.
That's insane. Has he ever run? How much has he run the ball in his career? I do think Percy Harvin once was second on Seattle in rushing.
And you see where,
but then it was one time,
and you see where he ended up at. He's too small.
Or maybe it was no, it wasn't him. Debo finished second in rushing.
Was it Debo?
Not last year. He was third last year. But I think 2 years ago he was second. But that's pretty unique. The odds of a wide receiver finishing second. Yeah. I know the Browns don't have a clear second back, but I would still bet on Watson having more yards rushing than Elijah Moore.
Yeah, right. Let's not act like he's going to be taking
crazy.
Yeah, he's not going to be taking snaps, bro.
We're not running him up the middle.
It was definitely interesting to see.
No.
Yeah, it was interesting to see how people would vote on that. I mean, you look at
Deshaun
Elijah
got the
Moore.
most votes, you said?
Deshaun Watson was like 47%. But you look at Elijah Moore, and I think Percy Harvin, Debo Samuels. That's what the vision is, but I was kind of shocked.
Debo kind
of those guys were proven players before they started.
I was kind of shocked. If I didn't vote, but if I had to vote myself, I would say it's going to be Deshaun Watson.
As of now, if they signed a Kenyon Drake, I would say Kenyon Drake.
Well, they did trade for Pierre Strong. Do you think Pierre
Strong, I don't know that he can play. He's at 10 NFL carries.
Do you think he could be
I like
running back 2 over Jerome Ford?
He could be.
He's running back 3.
But as of today, I would bet on Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, Mike, I think he's running back 3. Like, let's say Jerome Ford, for whatever reason, misses an extended period of time. I just don't believe that this dude is still running back 2. I think that the running back 2, without Jerome Ford being healthy, isn't on his team. I really think Demetric Felton and John Kelly are both gone, if I'm being totally honest with you.
They're probably.
So
I don't even know that Pierre Strong is 100% guaranteed to be on the team. They traded a guy they were probably going to cut anyway.
So I
think he's going to be on the team, but I don't think it's 100%.
I just think he's a running back 3. I think he's a guy. He's a guy.
Potential.
I like him. I like his speed. He plays special teams. He has a little bit of vision. He was rated higher coming out of college than Jerome Ford.
That's right. He got drafted higher.
He was drafted higher, too.
So, to me, this guy, when you make a trade for a guy like Wheatley, who the Browns love linemen, that signals to me they're going to play this guy. And he played for Belichick, so that you automatically get another star, even if you're garbage. You play for Belichick,
that's true.
We're going to play you.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, Mike, anything else before we say goodbye here?
No, I do want to say one thing about Pierre Strong, though. So he went to South Dakota State during the COVID season.
I thought that was San Diego State.
No, South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits. San Diego State. The Jackrabbit? How are you going to pause on an animal? The Jackrabbits. That's a mascot.
Can you imagine?
The pause pandemic has gotten way out of control. I have Darren Smith texting me pause. I have Bull texting us pause in the group chat. I have Earl pausing.
More importantly, can you imagine being a black dude living in South Dakota?
Not at all.
Like, what is happening there?
I think the capital of South Dakota is it Bismarck?
Yeah.
Isn't that North Dakota?
That's North Dakota.
No, Fargo.
Oh.
No, it ain't.
No. Hold on, I'm looking it up.
Like, have you ever do you know anybody that's from South Dakota?
Carson Wentz. Pierre.
Yeah, Pierre, South Dakota, in North Dakota is Bismarck. But yeah, nobody, can you imagine? No. North Dakota State is the only thing in North Dakota. South Dakota is, no, I'm not.
See, there are states when I'm like, well, I can't live in that state. I'm Jewish. I can't live there. I can't live in Alabama. What the hell? But you got, as a black person, you're thinking the same thing. The states you're like, I'm not going to live there.
And there's certain parts of the city I don't even drive in.
Right, you're right.
Exactly.
If I'm being totally honest
But
with
the only difference is, people don't know I'm Jewish just by seeing me, right? So, maybe I can hide, but,
Most of the states in the Midwest are empty.
Montana, Wyoming,
like the whole
bunch of old white people there. I don't want to live with a bunch of old white people. I'm pissing people off now.
It's old, not old, but it's empty. It's still all it is farmland.
Mike, have you ever met anybody from South Dakota?
Well, I know 2 athletes, Travis Hafner.
Oh yeah,
from South Dakota.
Wow,
bad job out of you for forgetting.
Oh yeah,
and Carson Wentz is from South Dakota. But as I was saying, real quick. South Dakota State played Sam Houston State in the FBS championship that season. It was COVID year. Sam Houston State was a team I covered when I was in College Station. Pierre Strong was the Jackrabbits' best offensive player that game, and he was fast as hell. I just rember seeing he was fast as hell. So.
Yeah, that's still
also over 7 yards a carry.
They got to change their name to the Bunnies or something.
By the way,
did you hear that?
What's that?
The Browns tweeted out "Happy Birthday, Michael Dunn" 40 minutes before they released him.
Happy birthday, Michael Dunn, and then they cut him.
That's crazy.
That is so funny. By the way, real quick, Friday night I went to Rocky River High School football. They're playing John Marshall. They were up 42-6 at halftime. John Marshall, I felt bad. They couldn't punt. They kept going for it, fourth down, like 15 in their own side of the field.
I'll say this.
And that was the final.
This is just my appointment, my opinion. John Marshall is part of the Cleveland Municipal School District.
Yeah.
The athletic, attention to CMSD sports is not what it was when I was in high school, which sucks. It seems like if you're not Glenville, you don't get the resources necessary to build a quality program when you play for a Cleveland Municipal School. And that's how you get kids off the streets. That's how you help them kind of like channel in on different things like that to tone in their focus. So
Rocky River may be good. They have a really good offense.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like a school like John Marshall ain't never been good.
Yeah,
they ain't never been good. So,
but shout out to the offensive coordinator, Rocky River.
Shout out to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show
They look
fans,
great.
man. Y'all rock today, man. Thank you all.
Peace.